There you go.
Good evening. Welcome to the Road Advisory Committee. Today is February 1st, 2023. And we're calling the meeting at 6:30. Is that right?
Interrupt for just a moment. It sounds like the audio is coming through the microphone at Ian's station. Could you make sure that the microphone that's hanging from the ceiling is the operational microphone?
Yeah, I can look.
And if you'll tap that microphone right where you are, let's make sure that that's,
Tapping it.
yeah, no, it's not that one, but your voice is very, very clear and everyone else is muted.
How's it now?
No, same thing, Bob.
Through this on the CBA.
This happened at another meeting last week,
Mhm.
and there was a setting on the computer screen that had the microphone settings.
Yeah, no, that was the CBA, Rob.
Oh, okay, yes, right. Yep.
We've
You fixed it.
we've made the change that we solved it on the CBA, but
And as you're standing right there, Bob, your voice is super clear, but when you were standing over by your chair, it was muffled again.
Try that, try something else, just change it. Yeah.
Test 1, 2.
Yes, there we go. Now I can hear Roy perfectly clear. Well done. Thank you.
thanks, Rob.
Good job. Ian fixed it. Passed your first Tech 101.
Ian, do you want your notes up there or are you coming back down?
I'll come back.
All right.
once. Yeah.
The corner there. Okay, ready? Okay, well, roll call
Kerry,
here.
Hubert,
Yeah.
Shields. Here. Walsh, here. Groden. Here. Hubert. Nichols. Here. Smith.
Here.
Townsend. Here.
Adoption of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added? Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, I like to try to add 2 discussion items. One being Park Road, potentially paving Park Road as a discussion item, probably under section F, unfinished business. And then also Upland Style Ridge sidewalk improvements. Those are both items in the potential road budget for 2023. So I just want to at least give information to the Road Advisory Committee and to public, because there seems like there's a little bit of confusion on both those projects. So I just want to try to at least give some information out on those 2 projects. So that's why I like to add those 2 discussion items.
Okay, on unfinished business, unfinished?
Yeah, I think they're both under unfinished business.
Okay.
And I think we do them before we look into all the projects for 2023, because they are listed in the list of projects. So it makes sense to me. Have the information prior to us discussing the list of projects.
Okay, would you like to speak, or talk about this before the budget, or does it matter? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
okay, before, all right, I'm good.
Loud so we can all hear over here.
Okay, sorry. So Park Road and the Uplands.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do that. Also, I need to apologize for the agenda. I mean, Patrick and I are working together and I'm learning P, which is our program at the township. And I have to create a template and I forgot to put in discussion. So if there's any discussion other than what's on the unfinished or new business, let's put it under discussion only. It could be something that we learned, in the past month or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I want to, if it's okay, put that in between E and F. We can call it E2, I guess, for today. And then the next time I'll have a better template. Okay, and adoption of the agenda. I'll say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, the next, public comment. So anybody in the audience, or I'm sorry, the public would like to speak, come forward to the table and just state your name.
Hi, my name is Agnes Pastorino, and most people call me Aggie. I live at 7690 Marshall Road, which is just a little bit west of Baker Road and Marshall Road. And I'd like to talk about my road, Marshall Road. Back a few years ago, I don't know how many years ago, there was a meeting here at the Township Hall in which there were several different things discussed, but one of the things was they brought up the idea that somebody in authority brought up the idea that if we wanted to, we could get a special assessment to have our county roads paved, like they mentioned, especially Marshall Road having paved. And we had a vote on it the next time we voted it. I voted in favor of it because I wanted Marshall paved. So then I was thinking one of these days, no, they're going to pave Marshall. Maybe I hadn't really actually heard whether it went through or not, but I thought, well, probably did, or I would have heard. And anyway, last fall then, no, last spring then, I got an assessment on my taxes for roads, and I assumed that's what it was. Then some guys came, they were working on my road, and I said, oh good, are you guys paving my road? And they said, no, we're not paving your road, we're improving it, but we're not paving it, we're just improving it. And I was disappointed, but I thought, well, let's see what happens. Well, it turned out that the improvement that they did was not an improvement from my viewpoint. When I first moved to that place, we had a gravel road, which I was okay with. But since then, at some point along the road, and I don't know when, they started using something on the road that it kind of reminds me of grout. And it's like, they put it on top of the road, and they say it's supposed to turn into a sort of cement, but it's a lot of potholes and stuff like that. So then when they were going to improve it, I thought, well, now maybe we won't have any potholes, and maybe that'll be improved. So that's what I was expecting this time, but I found the problem this time is that the stuff that they're putting on the road, they're putting more of the stuff on that's like grout. That reminds me of grout, and the way it works is when it's dry, you go over it, and every car that goes by, there's a great big cloud of dust, and your car just gets totally covered with dust. And then when it gets wet, and sometimes they wet it down on purpose, sometimes it gets wet from rain, sometimes it gets wet from snow, whatever. Anytime that it gets wet, then it turns into a mush. And the mush, it gets on your, if you go up to your mailbox, it gets on your shoes or your boots or something, and it's like this thick on your shoes or boots. And when there's a lot of water, it totally runs down my driveway. So it goes down my driveway and it puts the stuff on my driveway as well. So if I walk up my driveway, then I'm going to walk through this mucky stuff again. It also comes down on my lawn. So if I try to go up to my mailbox on my lawn instead of up my driveway, then again, I'm walking through the muck to get to my mailbox, no matter which way I go. In building it twice, at least twice, and maybe more than that, they built up the road like about, I think they were saying something like 16 inches or something, that they built it up to make it higher. So altogether, they built up my road like about 2 or 3 feet higher than it was. So when I come out my driveway, when we built our house, we had it graded down so the driveway went in a nice smooth slant from the garage down to the road. So the way it is now, it's like you go down the road and then you gotta go up a hill to get onto the road. And when you're going up the hill, this hill is covered with this mush. So what happens is this mush gets in your tires. And then you get up on the road and you try to go at a normal speed. And the mush goes flying in chunks all over your car. So you have chunks of mush if it's wet, or you have dust if it's dry. You can't have your car clean even one day, because by the time you go down your road once, you go home once and go back someplace, your car's dirty every day.
What are your two crossroads?
I'm between Baker and Parker, but close to Baker on Marshall. I'm close to Baker. There are 4 other houses between me and on Baker Road. So I'm really close to Baker Road. And it's Marshall Road that I was hoping was going to get paved, that didn't get paved, but has this. So then not only that, if I've tried, coming back from someplace and picking up my mail before I go to the house, so I don't have to walk the whole driveway or the whole lawn through the muck. And then what happens is I get out and the muck gets on my shoes and it gets mucked in my car. So no matter how I do it, I'm dealing all the time with either muck or dust or snow if it's winter. I'm dealing with those things. And then in the winter, if it gets icy where that hill is, then it's hard to get up onto the road because you're afraid of sliding off. And there are ditches on both sides of my road. I'm afraid of sliding into the ditches on the sides of my road to go up that embankment. So there are lots of different problems with what's happening with my road. And I'd like it if it could be brought down to where it used to be or someplace close to that, and have some kind of covering that wouldn't make my car and my boots and everything all dirty.
We'll have to, I can take a drive out there, or any of us can take a drive to look and see. As far as Marshall Road, there's under the township-wide special assessment, that's what you saw on your taxes.
And that was another thing. So I'm getting charged a special assessment. In the first place, when they talked about a special assessment, I thought, well, I have never been any place where you had to have a special assessment to get a road paved, because I thought when the traffic got high enough, they just paved it.
No.
And I've never been in a situation. No, I mean, yes.
No, maybe in other municipalities, but in Scio Township.
I've never been charged an assessment before for work on my road.
Correct, yes, and in 2013, the township passed a township-wide special assessment for each parcel, $85 for 10 years. And it was to cover connector roads. And actually Marshall Road is a connector road. And it looks like there was at least there was money that was spent in 2022. Is that correct?
That's the money I'm talking about, that they put this stuff on the road. That's awful.
Yeah, and in 2014 as well, but it may not, we'll have to go out and look and see what type of work they did. But as far as paving, that's a whole other topic.
When they talked with us, they talked about paving, and that's what I voted for. So that's all I can say about that.
Okay, we'll look into it. And is that 7690?
7690.
Okay.
But
Okay.
whatever it is, it's a problem on that road. That kind of mushy stuff is really a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm back. Kathleen Brandt, Scio resident. I have a number of items I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about the definition of recruise. So broad definition is to remove oneself from participation, to avoid a conflict of interest, or to abstain. So Mr. Townsend and Ms. Smith, you both stated in the last roads meeting that you are recusing yourself from action on Park Road. Yet you continue to strongly advocate for the Park Road project. Clearly, you should not be making any comments regarding Park Road. Please refrain from from participating in the discussions. This should also extend to discussions you may have with other township personnel, including the supervisor. And now, in that point, I think you need to look at your agenda because it was just put on there by Mr. Townsend, who has recused himself. And I want to say to this committee, these members, it's up to you to enforce that requirement of recusal. You need to keep these people to their word of recusal. Secondly, the definition of a special benefit in Public Improvements Act 188 of 1954. So a special benefit, meaning a specific benefit to a specific property within a special assessment district. Here's an opinion, a court opinion, City of Lansing versus Jennison. This is 1918, sorry. It is settled law that special assessments may be sustained upon the theory that the property assessed receives some special benefit from the improvement differing from the benefit that the general public enjoys. This is the foundation of the right to levy special assessments, and without such foundation, the right must fail. So in this regard, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Townsend, you continue to use a different definition of benefit when advocating for certain directions be taken by the township. The special benefit definition is a tangible benefit expressed by an increase in value to a specific property in the district. Please refrain from using the incorrect definition of special benefit as defined in the Public Improvement Acts. And again, it's up to the committee members to take responsibility for making correction when that happens. Mr. Walsh, you've said it many times in these meetings, a different definition. I don't know why you can't comply with the act. Now I have a couple of questions for Chairperson Kerry. I want a question, who has submitted each item on the agenda? Please specify by committee member name. For example, the 2023 to 2033 road funding presentation. Who submitted that?
The subcommittee, Roy Townsend, Patrick Shields, Bob Walsh, and there's a Steve Kern from, well, TAP, it was TAP, but no.
Okay, and who submitted the budget request for fiscal year 2023?
Right.
Interesting. All right, finally, in that presentation I just referenced, the 2023 to 2033 road fund presentation, how was the calculation made to go from $85 per year to $185 per year? There's no supporting documentation to derive the $185 figure. This represents a 218% increase from the prior amount charged per parcel. The cost of materials and labor have not risen by 218% in the last 10 years. So it would be useful to discuss how you came up with that number. And then this is specific to myself. How was it decided to classify some local roads as subdivision roads? I know they talked about that in 2013, but let's consider this is not a classification used by the Washington County Road Commission or the state of Michigan. It's all local roads. This new classification, if used across the township, does not comply with the definition of special benefit in Public Act 188. In fact, by making this distinction, any properties on division roads get no special benefit from a township-wide SAD. These properties are actually penalized by paying for improvements on their road. They must do a special assessment to get any improvement. So for the prior 10-year township-wide SAD, I received no benefit. from that. And in the current proposal, I will not receive any benefit for the next 10 years. I don't think that's gonna fly. And there's reference to Texas Township, as if that can be the rationale for deciding which roads you're gonna do. But let's keep in mind that Texas Township, just outside of Kalamazoo, covers all roads in their township. So they're not excluding subdivision roads. So by definition, anybody in a subdivision can challenge the proposal that you present. That's all. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Mars. I've been a resident of Washington County for about 25 years and a homeowner in Arbor Point subdivision since 2005. And I'm simply here to appeal and advocate on behalf of myself and I guess the safety of the children in the neighborhood. Please correct me if I have some facts wrong, okay?
Who else are you an advocate for? Yourself and who else?
Children?
Who?
Children?
Okay.
So my understanding is that Parker Road is going to be paved from Stabler to the entrance off of into Cedar Ridge Road. And that was part of kind of the project approval for Torwood. And so I know on the agenda today is to consider paving the rest of it. And there's a tremendous amount of traffic flow that already comes off of Zeb Road into Arbor Point and cutting through most likely to Country French Estates, I'm guessing, right? I have been passed in my neighborhood by cars. I have sat in my yard and watched cars speeding down and speed out. And my concern is that if the rest of the road is not paved, that the traffic is going to increase even more, making it considerably more dangerous. You know, there's no streetlights in the neighborhood. You know, cars just speed down there to cut through to save a little time, I guess, or not get their car dirty. And as a homeowner and a father, that's just very concerning to me. And I hope that you take this seriously, regardless of refrain of. Thank you for considering it tonight as a budget item. I really appreciate that. And hopefully that we can get something done for everyone else. Thank you.
Stephen?
Yes,
What was your last name again?
Mars, M-A-R-R-S, like the planet, but 2 R's.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Comment. I'm Cindy Heberline. I live at 5927 Rollingwood Drive and my house backs up to Park Road. So I can talk about value first because of the traffic that comes past my house on Park Road with the dirt. I can't speak to what's going on over on Marshall Road, but I can tell you that I have, it flies. My house doesn't get dusty, it gets gritty because of the amount of dirt that's coming. I've lived in Arbor Point for 21 years. When we built the house, part of our contract actually had us agree that there was going to be a paved road behind us, with knowledge that we would be part of a special assessment to cover that. And I think that there is a great deal of value in having that part paved. As Stephen mentioned, you know, as the cars come out originally of Country French, but now they even come down from the new subdivisions further west. They'll come down Park Road, cut in to Cedar Ridge and fly down Rollingwood Drive. If the cops would patrol it, we would have enough money to pay for the paving because there's nothing to stop them. We're not allowed to have speed bumps. It's just, you know, I mean, there's no penalty for cutting through. So if it's paved up to that point, we know that there's going to be even more traffic coming through. We have 2 bus stops, no street lights, speeders. It's a bad situation. The dirt road behind us requires frequent grading. So it's not like we're going from something that doesn't have a cost of upkeep. There is, I'm gonna say it was probably graded every 2 or 3 weeks last summer because of all the construction traffic that has been heading down Park Road to build the new sub. It's just a complete mess. It is, when we talk about what value there is to clean up the back, to get the traffic off the front, the entire sub would be benefit. It will take traffic out, and if we get a stoplight at Zeeb and Park Road, that would be, I mean, it would take traffic, nobody would want to come through the sub. It will always be better to head down Park. Finally, if you only pave to the end of Cedar Ridge, and there is a short gap there before it gets to Zeeb, eventually it'll be paved. You know, maybe not in this, but it will get there. But it means that all traffic that wants to go on Park Road past it will be driving through the sub. So cutting off a small bit there is financially unsound, and safety, it's not safe either. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Laika Misakur. I'm a resident of Scio Township. I live at 5972 Rollingwood Drive. I didn't even know my neighbors were here, actually, the previous 2 speakers. We live on the same street. So I'm here tonight. In fact, I have sent this document to you through writing. I don't know if you received it, but I'll go ahead and read it just for the records. I'm a resident of Scio Township at Arbor Point subdivision, currently affected by the flow of traffic generated as a result of cars averting the subject road segment, which is Park Road. I have lived on Rollingwood Drive, a strip of road that has 27 homes that is parallel to the segment of Park Road that is currently dirt road, basically. The paving of this small strip of Park Road would have been the very first thing the township and the road commission should have completed before permitting a large-scale home development just down the street on Park Road. We have not seen yet the end, as we are only in the second major development west of Park Road. There's a lot of farmlands down there. I ride my bike. There's a lot of empty lands there. To debate this issue at this point and suggesting a dirt road, a solution for a busy road segment, makes the already committed mistake more complex than it needs to be. Pouring crushed limestone year after year on a strip of road that has drastically increased flow of traffic and already has drained a good amount of the tax money is not a solution to the chronic problem residents have to deal with from flow of traffic that has constantly increased. The expansion of residence development west of Zeeb Road without paving the subject segment of the road should not have been permitted, as the traffic flow through the neighborhood has increased even without the new homes being completed. Just next door to our subdivision is a large segment of homes coming up. Why should current residents be burdened by poor planning that continues to take place? And also unreasonable suggestions of cost associated with doing the job right to begin with. As of today, residents from Country French residing near Park Road and the west side of that subdivision and new home buyers just down the street are avoiding the dirt section of Park Road and driving through on Rollingwood Drive, increasing the flow of traffic, just as the 2 prior residents expressed here. Furthermore, all the dirt rising all summer long from the subject strip of the road and accumulating on our homes and cars, is creating a health hazard. We can no longer even open our windows for fresh air at night during the dry and hot seasons, as rising dust fills our homes, windows, cabinets, and everything around us, creating a health hazard. Why should a segment of the resident who are assessed similar amount of tax as others be encumbered by the voice of others who seem to care less for the issue because they do not live there? It doesn't affect them, but it affects us. No resident should be subjected to live with consequences of poor development plan. Roads are one of the first considerations a township and a county and the developer should address before building the first home. Leaving the quarter-mile strip of Park Road unpaved poses health hazard that is resulting from dust, in addition to increasing traffic flow through Arbor Point subdivision on Rollingwood Drive, which at times has seen its share of traffic confrontation, which I have personally witnessed in numerous occasions. Just the other day, a driver sped up. He could not stop at the stop sign. He spun 360 degrees, almost hit a lady that was coming at the right way. She blew her horn. I turned around. The guy was facing the direction where he came from. This is the kind of stuff that's going in the neighborhood. Nobody sees it. The go-through drivers tend to speed through the neighborhood, and in most instances are non-residents who care less about the mess they leave behind. I've picked trashes, glasses from my driveway from the grass. Street littering, sign violation, creating near heat conditions, and verbally assaulting residents who drive slow in the neighborhood. I have seen it all happen. Why? Why should a poor planning result such a condition for residents who are paying the same level of tax to the city and to the state? Any cost rationale presented as an argument for not paving the small segment of the road should not be entertained, as residents' health and safety should be the primary factor that needs to be considered. Let us admit, the area is not the farmland that it used to be 25 years ago. I have resided in that place for 21 years. Things have changed. And the old thinking about keeping on pouring gravel, dirt to fix must also change. Please listen to us. The township is allowing growth and development. Therefore, the road system must be compatible to handle the flow of traffic. Letting traffic to find a path of no dirt through neighborhood paved roads is ethically wrong and morally irresponsible. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Well, these people, some of them live exactly in the same neighborhood. And it's apples and oranges. And I just want to say, Roy, I missed your presentation at the annual homeowners meeting. So I don't really know what you presented there. I was ill. So, and I've tried to get some information about it. And all my neighbors in my court have no idea about this whole thing. And I want to go back to the original.
Please state your name.
Paula Gloverson in Rockwood Point or Rockwood's Court. This will benefit me zero. And this is a thing what I call SEM, somebody else's money. And if we go back to a road commission meeting where they say there's about 37 parcels that this actually affects. When you buy a house that borders a dirt road, and I don't know, it hasn't been year after year that they've been fixing Park Road. I never go down it for any reason. And also this idea of a light. Where do you think they're going to cut through to avoid a light? We've seen that. How I got hit on Zeeb Road is people coming straight across into CVS from Myers before the light that was due there because of multiple injuries and a death. They would go cut across there no matter what time of the day it was to avoid a light. So the light is not an answer. Kids go across that road, what Country French did, and it wasn't necessarily for cut through traffic, but they have speed bumps, drive through Country French. I've advocated for that in Arbor Point. Much cheaper. Our road is a mess. Needs to be, I've asked for it to be repaved. I don't mind paying for my own road. I do see there can be a problem when you allow developers to come in. They're going to, so they paid for their little stretch. If Trailwoods was not there, we would not need this. I don't even think it would be being discussed. Now, all these people on Rollingwood don't have an idea about these plans. They haven't been watching meeting after meeting and following this since when Will Hathaway and your buddy Lou Kidder put out this original, this is not legal, first off. Communication on Park to Zeeb Road. And they were basically targeting Country French at the time. This place was packed with people very mad and angry that want nothing to do with paving this. I'm in my yard. I'm going to tell you, the majority of the speeders currently, including one that almost hit me because we have a little division where you go in and out at the entrance of Arbor Point. And you got to remember that this neighborhood was built in 2 phases. The second phase wasn't even going to go through. That's the Rollingwood part. And that's neither here nor there. But all these people on Rollingwood, I don't think they realized between culverts, pathways. First off, your committee said this is like an entire year's worth of the Washtenaw County Road budget, even with the SAD. Now, I may be wrong, or I can correct me or whoever on that. You could have a discussion on it. And at $1.5 million, and trust me, folks, they're not going to just, I think everybody thinks that possibly the people that even know in our neighborhood, because I've talked to plenty, the people that know think that the township is going to pay for all this. Now, in the deed, it said something about, and there's legal things. I've gone to an attorney about this deed and Act 139, as well as one Act 88. And 139 also says in here, and then there's many subsections to it, that it says that upon receipt of the petition, there has never been a petition, number 1. So when Arbor Point Homeowners Association, I think they had Michael Ratty send the note over here, like it's everybody in Arbor Point wants this. And it's actually Rick Stites, who is the president. I've spoken to him when I could finally, now we have a buffer system that I'm not happy. Well, I haven't been happy with the homeowners association there in general, leaving cars sit for 4 years and.
Hold on 1 more minute.
Okay, well, it's illegal on many different levels. And when they go to do their special assessment, it's the people who have frontage or want to opt in. And like I said, there's been no petition, so there's no way out of 172 homes, I believe it is, that Arbor Point Homeowners Association, who states that they are representing all of us. Personally, I've never even signed a proxy with those people. And there's a lot of problems with what they're trying to attempt here. That's it. I could go on for probably 20 minutes. But the conflict of interest definitely is a problem on not just this committee, but the DDA. If you connect all the dots of all the people that are enter on these different committees, and I worked 20 years in Scio Township, there's a lot of stink.
Thank you, Paula.
Bruce Langley.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi. I live at 5987 Rollingwood Drive. And when I bought my house in 2001, I know I bought a house with a dirt road behind me. And it's increasingly got worse and worse with the dust and all that, which is, more traffic. But now they built this other subdivision west of us. Is it Trailwoods? And there's probably gonna be more, which is, growth. But my question is the developer paying to pave Park Road?
Portion, part of Stabler up to Park and then Park to Cedar Ridge.
Right. The developer is paying for that.
Yes, supposedly there's an agreement.
Oh, I see. When ours was built, there was no agreement to pave Park Road next to our subdivision? No,
I don't know that.
yeah, there obviously wasn't. You said in 2013, there's a township-wide assessment for road improvement?
Special assessment, yes, for,
Is there any paving on that?
there are certain roads that were paved, that were already paved at that time, and there was money allotted for the maintenance of those paved roads.
Okay, so you didn't pave any dirt roads or anything like that
Well,
with
there
that
was North
assessment?
Delhi that ended up going from gravel to paved, but that wasn't part of the original agreement with the special assessment district.
When are they gonna pave this section of Park Road?
That's a good question.
So it's not, there's no date when they're gonna start?
Oh, you mean for the part that the developer,
Yes.
when they complete?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you meant the rest of the section everybody's talking about, so sorry about that.
Yeah, and my concern too is the traffic through our subdivision. It is bad now. And it's gonna be worse. Because people coming through to avoid that dirt road. And they come west onto Cedar Ridge, and then they turn west again on the Rolling Wood where my house is. And they drive very fast, not everybody, but they drive very fast down the road. And there's a stop sign at Cedar Ridge before you turn left to get back on the park. About 90% of people ignore that stop sign completely. And it's very dangerous, and it's a wonder that nobody has been hurt seriously already. And the dust too, every year gets worse. Are they putting something different on the road now?
No, that part of Park Road has not been maintained for 10 years.
Well, they grade it.
Well, they may grade it, but according to this special assessment, I'm looking at Park or Cedar Ridge to Zeeb, there has been no work done.
You mean improvement wise?
Maintenance improvement, there's nothing here.
Okay, but I mean, they do pour gravel on it, and grade it every once in a while.
No,
Yeah, that's totally different. Boy, at some point, given that a lot of people are new here.
Well, it's township people, whatever it is. But I'm sure it's the traffic and the heavy traffic from that development that makes the dust worse.
But there's something that's majorly missing in terms of.
Yeah, there's been no major improvement.
So the point is in previous meetings, we've talked about this at quite a bit of length. And there are many other roads in the township that have had a gravel lift applied to
Right,
them.
I understand that. There's no lift on Park Road, I know.
Never had a gravel lift.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking
And I'm repeating what Roy has said numerous times in these meetings, because I think it's.
about. Okay, so the bottom line is, to get that part of Park Road paved, that quarter mile, what can be done? Should we pay an extra assessment? Do you have to vote on it? What? I don't know.
we are looking into all of that. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of legal questions that haven't been answered yet.
Right.
So Public Act 188 does state that the township, it can provide special assessments under Public Act 188, and how that is used is, we have a lot of legal questions with that. And also the special assessment and the money that is there and whatnot. So this is in the works. We're on it because we're getting a lot of emails about Park Road. So
Yes,
you're
yes.
holding us accountable, which is good. So it's on our to-do list up at the top.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else here in person would like to speak?
Yeah, we have a couple online.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, did somebody say yes? In the audience, in the public here? No, okay, go ahead.
We have three online. Greg Crouch, apologies, would be the first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gregory Crouch. I live at 5891 Rollingwood Drive. First off, I appreciate that this is a conversation. It seems like it's a good discourse, and I'll try to be short because everyone did a really good job of explaining a lot of the concerns that I have as a resident whose backyard backs up to Park Road. I have children and I'm asthmatic, as well as there's other asthmatics in the household. And in the summertime, when we would like to have our windows open or go out back, we simply cannot, because the clouds of dirt that come up through the increased traffic is problematic for us. It becomes a medical issue. I would say that's the one thing that I wanted to bring up first and foremost. Beyond that, I wanted to mention that even though the roads within our subdivision are public roads, they're not necessarily upkept within our subdivision by funds outside of us. And so something that I believe somebody else in our resident stated, which was that it would not impact them at all, is partially incorrect. If we don't pave Park Road, even at the traffic we have now, which is likely to only increase from here, the cost is really just being outsourced from all of the people who are using it or will use it to the people who live in this subdivision, who will have to pay increased HOA fees for a road that will degrade even faster with the increasing traffic. And so those are the two things that I wanted to bring up. I'm super in support of paving Park Road, and for the quality of life of me and my family, I truly hope that it's recommended to pave it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Cab Smith. Hoping that you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Karen Smith. I'm one of those people that live on Rollingwood. I do not back up to Park Road. I'm actually across the street. Being across the street, I'm also that far away. I'm experiencing the heavy clouds of dust. You can't, if you have your windows open, you've got dust in your house. You have it all over your brick, your siding, your screens are filthy in the front. You don't want to leave your car out because it will be covered by the dust. I can't imagine the health problems that we're all facing from the clouds of dust and the increased traffic on the road. The big issue I have is with the number of cars that come through. It is unbelievable. And I feel that the majority of them are racing through that neighborhood. And as others have stated, I work in the front a lot on my garden. I see them not stopping at the stop signs on both ends because I'm at the highest peak of that road. And I see both where it turns into Cedar Ridge on one side and the other side, cars aren't even stopping. And it's just the speed, it's really scary to see the joggers, the people on bicycles, the children in the streets, and these cars going through at extremely high speeds. Also, as Mr. Crouch just said, the additional traffic is deteriorating that road faster and faster. And we in the subdivision, all of us in the subdivision will have to pay for that being fixed. The township isn't going to pay for it, and the neighborhood to the west of us is not going to pay for it. Literally, not paving that road is preventing all of us along that edge and actually throughout the neighborhood from not having quiet enjoyment of our environment. And I'm hoping, thank you very much for listening to this, and I'm hoping you consider what everyone is saying here and the dangers of not paving Park Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jonathan Greenberg.
Hey, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So I just want to, a little allegiance here with my Rollingwood neighbors down the street from me, having lived at 6580 Park Road from 1989 to 1999, I could say that the real problem started when they built Arbor Point and Country French Estates. It was really peaceful out here till all you came along. No, I'm just kidding. This has been, I guess my point is this has been a problem for a really long time. It's 6580 Park Road. We could not leave. I know exactly what you're talking about. Maybe not the volume, but back then it was just as bad. It covered everything. It was terrible. In fact, that's one of the main reasons I built my house where I did, further away from Park Road. But all that aside, I think the most important, or some of the more important issues that were outlined tonight have to do with safety. As a respectful and calm, peaceful driver who I can testify to using Arbor Point and their roads to get out to Zeeb Road the few times that I go out these days. And in doing so, I always stop at the stop lights. I'm very cognizant of the children playing there because I treat it as if it is my own neighborhood. But I also take a great deal of pleasure in driving slowly in front of people who are using it as a cut through. So while I'm using your road, I'm also an ally. Having said that, that is a horrendously dangerous situation that's only going to get worse when you pave up to Cedar Ridge. And for the 1 year it takes at best to get that adjusted, I worry for that neighborhood. I also worry that the group that is in charge of making these decisions in considering speed limit for Park Road as part of the process. I would want to know for sure that we are going to lower the speed limit and that somebody at the township is in charge of ensuring that they work with the state to lower the speed limit on Park Road from 55 to appropriately 35 if people are going to be walking up and down this with their kids and joggers and strollers. So I really hope you can focus on the safety issues here and ensure that both the speed limit is lowered on Park Road. That doesn't just automatically happen because of wishful thinking. It has to be owned by somebody and they have to see the project through with the state. And we also have to make sure that we don't do this in an order that makes the residents of either Arbor Point or Country French Estate bear the traffic for an extra year until they pave that last quarter mile. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you.
We have Rob Patterson.
Rob Pattinson, Scio Township. I would just remind the committee that Trailwoods has decided not to pave their sections of Stabler and Park Road until their construction traffic is finished because of the damage the trucks will do to the newly paved roads. So there are two reasons to coordinate with Trailwoods for paving Park if and when that happens. And that is number one, to save money. And number two, to follow up with what Jonathan just said and many of the others just said, paving the entire section of Park at once instead of leaving it dangerous for the other subdivisions for people cutting through. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else? Okay. Communications and correspondence. We read through those, I'm assuming I did. And there was more that came in today, but anything that will be on the next agenda. Do we have any questions? It's basically the same as Park Road. And also, I'm going to, there's a correspondence from Nate from the Washtenaw County regarding the culvert on, we talked about this a little bit last time, I think, on Parker by
Nate
Ben.
Murphy from the Road Commission, yes.
Nate Murphy, yes. So that's in here as well. I'm going to sign up RAC for the Road Commission email. So that's going to be part of our correspondences from now on. Okay, the next discussion items, is there anything that you would like to discuss that's not on the agenda under unfinished or new business?
I have a question, Jillian, just to clarify within the group. Ms. Brandt brought up an interesting point in that both Roy and I have stated in the past, that we have Park Road interests. I own 2 houses and property on Park Road, have for many years. If we are going to vote on making a proposal to the Board of Trustees for the 2023 budget road monies this evening, we're not doing them as individual roads. We're going to be asking for an amount for culverts and an amount for roads. And if it is the feeling of the group that Roy and I should recuse ourselves on voting for anything that has to do with Park Road, by default, we would not be able to vote for the road.
Well, the budget,
Budget.
I think the budget is the budget itself, and if it comes in front of us that we need to work on Park Road as its own entity, then we can have you recuse yourself from that point, because, well, and we have to look at the whole thing too, because if it's not a special assessment, I don't know, but
I don't know either. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I
that's-
want to make sure that we're clear, and if anyone's uncomfortable with it, that I'm happy to
okay. And
clarify that at this point before we get into the discussion.
Yes, and since one of the things on the agenda are our policies we're adding to it, so why don't we put something in there like that? Because I think there's something in the board policies regarding, well, I know there's a state law, as far as recusing a conflict of interest, so we can add something to our.
Just
Right
out of
there. Mhm, go ahead.
curiosity, we're an advisory. We don't actually make any decisions. It's up to the board.
Correct.
Yes, that's true.
Does your voting one way or another matter? Ultimately, it's up to the board.
Well, we vote on recommendations to go to the board.
Yeah.
So I think that it would matter. I mean, this is an interesting topic here, that we haven't really come across until recently. So, I mean, we can, I can look into it. I'll go to the,
Yeah, I don't know.
The
I'm just
difficulty is if
asking.
we don't make recommendations this evening, we will miss the opportunity to get things in front of the board on a timely basis for the 2023 budget. So we need to.
oh, yes, but that's the budget. So we were just, if we took Park Road by itself, I think that would be different.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Separated it out.
So, and we're just having a presentation, right, for Park Road? We're not making recommendations or anything?
It's in the budget. It's listed as a budget item in the.
Yes, but there's something that you added to the agenda for Park Road.
This discussion, yeah.
That's a
we discussed-
discussion, okay.
Discuss,
Yeah.
uplands, and because it is a line item in the budget, I wanted to at least update the road advisory committee of what that is, because it seems like, obviously you can hear there's still a lot of questions and confusion on this road project and uplands and Scio Ridge projects that are potential road projects in the 2023 budget. That's why I wanted to, try to answer some of those questions and clarify things. I think Linda's right. If we don't act tonight, I think the township board, they're moving forward with their 2023 budget. If we don't make recommendations, they'll just figure it out on their own, right? Which is one option, but I think, one reason they formed us is so we can make recommendations to them to improve our road network in Scio Township. So it seems like that's one thing we do, and that's what we did last year. It seems like we have 12 months. We talked about this a year ago. And so we need to get this done, sooner versus later. And here we are in February. So if we don't act, it just seems like, why do we have the committee if we're really not going to make recommendations to the township board? I guess just let them figure it out. So I don't know. That's my.
Well, let's go ahead and have the discussions with regarding these topics or these agenda items. Okay, so Linda, we'll look into all of that. My feeling is if it was its own project, but this is together with the 2000 or with the budget. So we're not going to pick each one apart and then vote on each one, I guess. Okay, so are any more discussion items or things to bring? No, okay. The next item would be, let's see. Oh, policy. So we kind of segued into that. And we started talking about, last time we had some policy items, which had to do with our elections of chairs and vice chairs, once a year and whatnot. And Patrick and I were working on the agenda together, and it's a lot to put the agenda together, and we're all busy. So we came up with a plan of having, and put this in the policies, that the Wednesday before the board meeting, any agenda items need to be submitted. So, correspondence is everything to go into that packet. And then that Friday is when the packet is created and then sent out to everyone in the public. So it's just these last minute things. And we want to make sure everything's in the packet for the public and for us to read, because as we can see, this one was pretty thick and it took us a while to get through. If that's okay to add that to the policies, and we'll have the policies up on our website, and of course we'll all have, and we can add to the policies as we go. And if there's anything else that you can think of for policies.
I would just add that on the Monday, Saturday, over the weekend or latest on Monday, I will send an email out to everybody. And that just says, if you got an item or report to give, I need it by Wednesday.
Okay, so that Monday before that Wednesday, I will put that in the schedule as well, just so.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah, okay. I know it's not really, for
That's
everybody
not
else, but,
policy.
oh, go ahead, Linda.
I would suggest that you make the language more to the intent shall be as opposed to it must be, because if for some unforeseen reason the agenda is not submitted to the township and on public record by the Friday, we don't want it to appear that it becomes invalid and we have to cancel the meeting. because
Oh, no, that wouldn't happen.
I just
Yeah.
soften the language enough so that you leave yourself.
Well, it's just anything that comes past the deadline will not be included in the,
Yes.
yeah, it's, I'm learning peak, and to go back in there and add things after it's been published is,
It's not good.
no, it's not fun. It's difficult. Okay, so, let's see, agenda, interest of looking at that, and then it was, the elections, the election language. Okay. All right, Roy, so the next, you want to talk about Park Road? This is under, we're on,
We'll do the simple one first, which
Oh, I'm
is more
sorry.
upland.
Take a step back.
Sure.
There was language in the minutes on the elections of officers and attendance.
Mhm.
Did anyone have any issues with them before we move on? We talked last week that we'd put the writing in. It seems like we should at least agree or make changes rather than let it slide another month.
I thought we had it rather well drafted. It was just, we
Okay.
didn't want to act on it that evening. We thought we'd let it sit. And upon rereading it, did anyone come up with any more?
I'm good. Do we need to vote on the policies as we go, or?
We could vote on them individually, or we could wait and try and make a target of, April 1 or something to adopt them by.
Yeah, it's just that things are coming up and we're adding to it because we're not thinking of, I could look at the board rules of order and go through all of that, but I don't think we need to have everything that they have.
No, I would say we had a couple of things. We had officers, we had attendance, and then we had the agenda items. The agenda items has changed versus what I put in the minutes. Let's get them updated and then just bang, 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 next meeting, get it over with.
Okay. We can always update it.
No, I like that. Bring it up at the meeting, next meeting, bring it back. So like you're thinking about the schedule. Bring that back next meeting, no changes, gets approved at the next meeting. So like the one on election of officers, you guys brought it back here. If there's things that need to be changed, change it this meeting, and then bring it at the next meeting for approval. You know what I mean? Rather than,
No.
it seems like, sort of like 3 meeting process, but then it's introduced at one meeting and then, discuss if there's changes, no changes, the next meeting gets, so it's like, and then it keeps things moving. through the
Yeah,
process.
yeah. As we learn, or as we use those things, and
If
yeah.
something needs to be done,
Um,
quicker, but most of these things seem like. haven't been.
Sure. Anybody else? No? Okay. Everybody awake? All right, it would be, let's see, Park Road, or Uplands
Can we do
discussion.
Uplands Outreach? I think that's a
Oh,
little
sure,
shorter
we can do
and
that one.
simpler.
Okay, Uplands and Scio Ridge. Okay.
I did send out, I apologize. I meant to send these out last week, but I didn't get to them to today. So I did send out some handouts, which I guess probably, we have any way of sharing that with?
Yeah, we do. I've got them on my laptop. If I can figure out how to share my screen, I can.
Okay.
But I gotta let myself in. So.
All right. I figured Rob, you could help us out.
The other option we did at the ZBA when we got last minute items is we can always read it out loud.
This is a drawing though.
Oh.
Yeah,
Good
read that.
description, go for
I
it.
know.
So here we go. With this one.
I wanted to pull up the upland sidewalk improvement, the 10 megabyte one first, if that's possible. And it sort of shows the neighborhood.
Trying to make myself count. This
Yes.
aerial image one.
Yeah, there's one like this one.
Yeah, I just try and figure out how to share my screen. It's not pretty.
I had Christy print all of this off for each member. She didn't put it in my inbox. So I will get it to you for the next. So I was looking at it like,
If we cannot, I can describe the project.
It should be there, but screen sharing, I think. I've got the.
make yourself.
If not, I'll just describe. So we're up with the subdivision, there's a bunch of 4, 5, 6 subdivisions between Liberty and South Church, east of Wagner Road, called Uplands, Ravines, Meadowlands, Townhome, and then there's a bunch of condos.
Hometown Village.
Hometown Village. And there's a bunch of.
Walnut View, Walnut Glen, and
Yeah.
2 apartments.
Okay, so I think someone said there's like 1,200 parcels in there. So when they built these developments, probably about 20+ years ago, they came to the township. Uplands was the first one, I think they were the west, and then Ravines, and then the Meadowlands, and then Townhome. But the sidewalks never connected. This developer built this one, this developer built this one, this developer built this one, this one developer built this one. So now you have 4 developments. Oh, you got it pulled up?
I got it up, yeah.
Oh, thank you. And so you go out there, and since that time, it's a pretty dense subdivision, you can see. There is a AAA HEA bus route that goes up Uplands Drive.
Actually, 2. Which is, I think, is this
This
one
is
where my
Uplands
mouse,
Drive, right?
my mouse is going?
Yes.
That's Uplands Drive.
Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
there's 2 bus routes that go there.
Right.
Through there.
So not only that, school bus is go through there and drop children off. So there's no sidewalks to connect these 4 subdivisions. So people are walking in the street. Obviously, right now, there's snow out there. The bus stop is basically right next to the road. So you're standing in the street to catch the bus. We as a township, you know, we talk about safety, we talk about sustainability. We want to encourage people to use the bus, but we have a situation that's not even safe. And school children have to get off that bus. I clicked on Google a couple years ago. It showed the school bus dropping the kids off in the street. The kids are walking down the street to go to their homes. So the goal of this project that's been talked about probably for 8 or 10 years is we connect those sidewalks, which is the purple, the blue dots that go down there. on both sides, and then it'd come down to the south. Now, just come up here and point. Basically, that's where the sidewalk stops. Take the sidewalk out here, tie it to this sidewalk, bring the sidewalk down to here. Then we come into this subdivision, we're gonna build a sidewalk here. There's gonna be a bus stop improvement here, bus stop improvement here, bus stop improvement here. This sidewalk come down here, your crosswalk here marked. You want us to go to the next one if that's possible, Ian? Which sort of shows it better. It's two different drawings, which is a little bit confusing. But end of the day, we put in the budget, we fund this 50% with road fund, because this was a project listed in the original SAD, and 50% with the parks pathway and preserve money. That's the sidewalk part. So we'd fund the curb and gutter, the road improvements, underground drainage with the road money, and the sidewalk work we funded with the TAP. So a $250,000 project, so it's about 30 from both sides. We potentially could. It's under engineering. A year ago, we approved Washington Engineering, started engineering. So this is a drawing showing it come down. Here's a crosswalk. Here's a sidewalk improvement. Here's curb and gutter around the intersection. Then it comes down to the south, which is the next sheet on the drawing. This is that touches that sheet right here. Comes down sidewalk here. Here's a crosswalk. Here's a bus stop. Here's a bus stop. Here's Snowberry. Here's this subdivision. We met out there. We may end up putting a sidewalk on this side. Right now, we're just showing it on one side. We want to have a public meeting with the neighbors to find out, what kind of support there is. But that's why this is a project, and that's why we wanted to put a line item in the budget in 2023. So we actually finally get this to this improvement. Ultimately, if you zoom out, this ultimately be phase one. Ultimately, you go back to the other drawing. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah. This guy?
This subdivision is, as you come down Uplands, maybe this doesn't show it, if you can zoom out. This is South Church Road. And right here is the city of Ann Arbor. Here's Oak Valley Drive. Here's the library. Here's, Pittsfield Township Target. Ideally, this would continue and go all the way to Ann Arbor. That's a destination. People want to be able to, make sense that people can finally walk, ride their bike, safely get to the city of Ann Arbor. There's bus service. This is just phase one, trying to tie that together to connect these subdivisions. So I just wanted to explain that to people, because they're like, what is this? We've talked about it. And I think a year ago, we actually approved money to fund some of this for Washington Engineering to get going on engineering. So they're developing the plan for the next steps. We need a public meeting. So are there any questions of what this project entails?
Forgive me because I may be behind on this, but is there any easement issues with the people whose lawns will have the new sidewalk on them? Is there any way that we would approve this money and it would get hung up because we aren't able to put the sidewalks in because of right of way?
It's public roads, so they're in the public road right away, or they're in the, for the most part, they're on the public road right away. So we'll have to get a permit from the road commission, but they're not, we don't need easements from property owners because it's all in public road right away. I think there may be, right here, you may need a grading easement from the HOA, which is, this is ravines or.
Ravines.
Ravine, yeah. Look at that corner right there. Or is that meadow wings? Ravines?
Ravines on the left, meadow on the right.
Okay. So that's the only thing we may need is a small grading permit, but at the end of the day, sidewalk work, curb gutter work, storm sewer work is all in the program. And we did talk to AATA. They were the ones that originally had a bus stop locations. We modified it because originally the bus stop was going to be up here and the crosswalk was going to be up here. But we realized people in this neighborhood, when they walk to here, they're going to come down and cut here. So that's why we moved the crosswalk closer to here. And AATA was, it made sense to them too. So this is all been reviewed by AAA. Yes.
What I don't understand is why wouldn't the cost be borne by the subdivisions? Why would it be borne by all the Scio taxpayers?
Because
that doesn't make sense.
That's why we have that road millage and parks and pathway millage to make improvements for the whole community.
You mean SAD? Right, roads, SAD, and parks millage.
Right, between the two things, yes. That was the whole intent of the township-wide road improvement millage and the parks pathway millage is to make these type of connections. I mean, that's why people voted like 70-some% and stuff to do that, is to connect communities together. So that's why, you know, yeah, we could have tried to assess all these, and we've talked about neighborhood SADs, they're a real pain in the butt. You know, how many meetings that the township had with the ones they did last year? That's why it makes more sense to do them globally rather than have each neighborhood try to do their own. So that's my take on it, obviously.
Okay.
Any more questions from?
Yeah, so you said that this was part of the original 2013 list of improvements?
Yeah, we did improvements in Uplands and Sow Ridge Road. That was repaving of those roads was in.
Yes, but not, it has nothing to do with sidewalks though.
No, but that's why we're using Parks Pathway millage for the sidewalk. But putting the curb and gutter and the storm sewer, we would use a road millage. Road improvements, so we can use road money for road improvements.
Well, according to special assessments, once there's a list of improvements is voted on and approved by the board, that's all we can spend that money and only improvements we can do and spend the money that was allocated. And I'm looking at the list that I guess is on the township website from 2013, and there's nothing more. I mean, there's this was Upland and Scio Ridge, or
yeah,
Scio Ridge, not Scio
Scio
Road.
Ridge.
I gotta stop naming everything Scio.
it was funded. It's a township agreement. I don't know why it's not on here.
Okay, Scio Ridge.
I mean, I can attest it was done because I was involved with the project 8 or 9 years ago, and it was the township funded it with the township-wide millage. And I guess it's not much different than, you know, some of these other projects we did, you know, East Delhi, we've done it a couple times, Marshall Road, we've done it a couple times, gone back. So it was on the original list. I don't know what would prevent us from spending money to
Okay.
improving that road.
Scio Ridge, Liberty to Uplands, pavement, right?
Yeah, we paid.
The township cost was 277,500. Estimated cost was 250. So yes, and why isn't it? See, and this is the other thing. I'm going to the township looking for all the documentation that should be all together, and it's not. The township-wide file is missing, the township-wide SAD file, which should have all of the resolutions and everything in there. And so I'm piecemealing to get, and Blue Kidder just sent me his list from 2013. So I'm assuming that's the closest to the resolution list. But then there's a list on the township website that states project year 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then breaks down all the roads. There's except West Delhi from 94 to Dexter Ann Arbor is crossed off, and a couple of Maple roads. So looking into getting to the bottom of all of this and making sure that we're doing this properly and using the money to what was voted and approved by the board in 2013. So we're gonna get. Yeah.
There was a township agreement between the road commission and the township to do this improvement. It was a listed project, and it was, you know, it was a resurfacing project. I'm sure Patrick can attest to that because he lives adjacent in that area. So those roads were in bad shape, and that was one of the projects that, you know, repaving of this road was one of the reasons that in 2012 or 13, the township-wide SAD did get approved. People were like, yes, please improve that road.
Okay, so the sidewalks would be from the park, the
Parks pathways.
the PPP millage. Okay. And then what was the rest of the improvement you were?
Well, the road improvements would be using road funds. The curb and gutter, underground drainage, repaving where it's necessary. Those separate road items would be.
All right, got it. And it's kind of crazy that they had the 3 developments and didn't plan to have them connected at the time. But then again, we have Park Road issues because of the same reason.
Yeah, here again.
Yeah.
And the I mean, this happened 20 years ago, so none of the people in office today, yeah, was it poor planning? Yes. But can we fix it now? Yes. So I think it makes sense to try to fix it now.
Oh, John, what?
No,
Oh, go ahead.
it's not public comment.
Trustees and our other trustees.
Well, no, but I'm not here as that. I'm on the Ravines Homeowner Association, and at our annual meetings, they talk about the frustration where you've got the uplands and the meadowlands. You can like see the sidewalk just across the street, and like it stops 5 feet short of the road on both sides, and you can't get there unless you jaywalk or go over there. So with respect to this being thought of in advance and outlined, on the March 12th, 2013, Scio Township Board of Trustees, agenda item 1.3, adoption of a declaration of intent to establish a township-wide special assessment district for the purpose of funding road improvement within the township, accepting those roads within the boundaries of the village of Dexter. And then it goes down, and then there is the chart that talks about them, and it does list this one on here, and it also lists it as a paved road. Now, whether the board should fund it or whether you should recommend it is different, but I think that this section of the township was envisioned at the outset of this special assessment for that part of
Yes, and if.
the said.
I think Jim Murphy said, I'm gonna make a comment that
Wait,
the whole
no.
sad thing was illegal.
Wait,
Because it
no,
doesn't-
no, excuse me, sorry.
Well, I don't know why, in an open meeting, anybody gets to come up and make a comment during the proceedings.
Well, then I yield back the time, and thank you for your time, folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can attest. I mean, it was included in the project. It always was. We did the work.
So the paving was already done at one point.
Was done using the township-wide SAD.
Okay, it already was, okay.
Probably 2014 or 2015.
Yeah, and why, is this,
In the loop.
It's not listed in here, probably because it's not a local road. Now, after it got done, it was switched over to a primary road.
In the Lou Kidder.
well, if it's a primary road, that would fall under the county then.
You think the county's gonna pay for it?
Well, the county pays for Zeeb Road and Jackson because those are primary roads. So is this a primary road or?
It is
local?
now.
Okay, so here's another question that we need to get to.
Nothing prevents the township from funding primary roads. It happens all the time.
Except it was a subdivision road when you decided.
No, it was a
But my
local collector
subdivision, you
road.
won't touch.
Because there is quite a few townships that fund primary roads in Washington County.
But we don't,
But we don't.
from what I
Yeah.
understand.
We did them all Jackson Boulevard. We paid for all of the boulevard, DDA, the township.
Yes, that's true. There was a bond that was
Zeeb
taken,
Road was
and that's
done.
why.
Baker
DDA was-
Road was done all with township funds. Probably about $30 to $40 million. So yes, we've done quite a few. Wagner Road. So, these roads.
Okay. Any other questions for Uplands?
That was the easy one.
Comments?
That's an easy one, yeah. Let's consider that. The easy one. So now Park Road, here again, this road's been talked about. Obviously, you've seen a lot of emails people have come in and talked about. There's a lot of safety concerns. Probably if you can pull up this drawing, Ian, sorry. I sent that to you this morning
Your emails and I didn't see that one.
at 9:08.
Let me have a look. Just bear with me. Today.
Yeah, it's printed off in the office somewhere for us all, but.
So I'll just talk about why you're pulling that up. A lot of the safety concerns, yeah, people right now are cutting through Arbor Point. Trailwoods, when that's done, which is gonna be 400 units, more of those people are gonna cut through. To clarify a few things, you know, someone, I forget who it was, a lot of different public speakers. The intent is the Trailwoods developer is gonna start and pave that section of Park Road and Stabler Road, starting early March, will be done by August of this year.
They're finished with their development.
No, but they're gonna do the project. I don't, you know, nothing required. I mean, they're supposed to do it last year, but they couldn't get an Eagle permit because they're relocating the drain. There's a drain down the corner of Stabler and Park. So it took them a year and a half, 2 years to get a permit from the Eagle to relocate that drain. So that actually is gonna happen this year. We've talked about this project for more than 10 years, actually 25 years, because you look at Harbor Point subdivision when it went in, there was an agreement that the neighborhood would pay into it. So at that point, the township was considering paving Park Road, because I've heard people say, it's a new project. No, it's been talked about for 25 years. And then it's continued to evolve. We talked about this thing last year. It didn't go anywhere. End of the day, Trailwoods development is gonna happen. They're gonna pave their piece of road. It's gonna stop 200 feet past Cedar Ridge. So people are gonna go probably cut through Rolling Wood. And like people mentioned, there's, I think, 3 bus stops. My kids are in high school now, but when they're in elementary, they walk down that bus stop and they say, hey, Dad, people cut through there all the time in the morning, especially when it's dark in the wintertime. People come through there and cut through. It really is a safety concern. The dust problem's legit. Getting up to Z Road and Park, traffic is, Z Road continues to, you know, the number of trips on Z Road continues to grow. So it just makes logical sense to finish this one gap. Put a signal there, make it safe for people from Trailwoods, because where do the people in Trailwoods want to go? Most of them is get on Z Road, get on I-94. So you're gonna go out Z versus going up Stabler. As you go up Stabler, you go down Jackson Road, multiple signals, you gotta do the Michigan left and come back. They're gonna go out Park Road, up Z, and get directly on the freeway. It's the most direct route, that's where people go. So that's gonna be, you know, the primary route. I did a look at the traffic. Right now, there's like 800 cars a day that use that section of road. I think there's the last count. Generally, homes generate 6 to 10 trips a day. So 400 homes, let's say 50% of them go out there. You're talking about 2,000 to 3,000 cars a day trying to use that piece of gravel road. A gravel road has a capacity of about 700 to 1,000 vehicles a day. Anything beyond that, you can't maintain it. So that's why in lots of the parts of this township, gravel roads work fine. If you could switch over to the density drawing. This was something we used in our trails discussion, is looking at the density in Scio Township. Where do the people live? And so, yeah, uplands, super high density. And if you go up, the different colors, let's zoom out first, Ian.
Making me sick.
Sorry.
It's too much.
I think he's in the right area there now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Zoom out one more, I'll show you what the different colors mean. One more.
Wait, zoom out or zoom
Scroll
in?
down. There we go.
Or-
So you can
Okay.
see, so population density, you know, this is like, you know, this is remote rural Scio Township. Then you get up to here, 500, you know, people, residents in these dense areas, it's apartment buildings and stuff like that. So if you go like this area, gravel roads work just fine. There's not many trips, there's not many people on them. Go up like north of here, North Delhi, East Delhi, those type of roads, there really aren't many people that live up there. So gravel roads, you're getting 500 cars a day, 200 cars a day, 300 cars a day. They work fine. Park Road is in one of the most dense areas of the township. A gravel road's not going to work. You know, sounds good. And if you put, I mean, we talked about this 10 years ago. Let's put some limestone on this road. You're gonna just throw that money away. Because when you finally do pave it, that limestone, you have to pay to put it on. You can pay a contractor to take it off. So it's just, you're throwing money away. So that's why we didn't do this project 10 years ago in 2014, 2015, we talked about it at the townships, like, no, let's wait and invest that money into doing Park Road correct the first time, one time and do it correctly, rather than just put money on stone. So that's why the goal is, you know, so basically they're gonna pave up to here, and then this should be part of a project. I'm sorry I'm advocating for this, but it just makes sense. Why would you have a gravel road in one of your most dense areas of the township?
Yeah, and why, and who negotiated the deal with Trailways just to pave that up to a certain point and not all the way to Zeeb Road? Because really, you know, it's like, come on.
That's, I mean, that was 2015, 2016. I don't think anyone that's in office today was in those meetings. So you can point fingers, but either we.
No, it's just a
decide to
fact.
fix
I mean,
it,
it's just, it
or we
blows. you know.
decided to say, okay, let it, because what you're gonna create is a paved road, paved in gravel. So it's gonna be a safety concern, because people are flying down there, and where's the road the worst? With pavement ends and the gravel starts.
You're right, it makes sense, but what doesn't make sense, and you know where I'm coming from, is spending $1.5 million for a half-mile of road. And by the way, this is $1.5 million of Scio taxpayer money for a very small strip of road that affects that area. That's what I have against it.
37 houses.
So you come back, yeah, it's like there's 800 homes here, so you're saying that.
And let the 800 homes pay
Just
for
like,
it.
hey, I have the board right now, floor right now, okay? When I'm done, you can talk. So up here at North Delhi, there's 150 people live up there. If you were here then, we would have never done North Delhi. You couldn't justify it. But some roads, it just makes sense. North Delhi was one of them. You spent $800,000 on a little piece of road. But it was worth it? Yes, I think so. We had a section of Liberty Road down here. We're gonna spend $600,000 to fix this drainage of a flooding area problem. $600,000, there's like 100 and some homes. Can you justify that? Yeah, because there's a safety concern. That road was closed a lot of the year. End of the day, we came up with a solution that didn't cost that much. So end of the day, at the 10 years, we have $1.5 million saved up. So why won't we spend that money and put that in a road that is a critical road in Scio Township? Rather than say, that's what I guess that's why I think we're on this committee to look for ways to improve the road, local road in Scio Township. So I think that's all I have. But I will open up any questions you may have.
Yeah,
Roy, you're
Bob.
supposed to recuse yourself and not advocate for the project.
I'm sorry, I live back in the sub, I have no direct benefit with this. And I shouldn't be talking to you because you're not even supposed to be.
okay,
talking.
all right, please. All right. Bob, you had something to say? And then, oh, you finished?
Well, that's been my whole point. It's a very expensive project for a small strip of road. And we believe there's an alternative that we have talked about and suggested at the past 2 meetings.
So couple of things, and I was trying to get to this from up there earlier on. I feel for the community. I have children, so please, whatever I say, don't take as being a lack of sympathy for what is going on, because I really, really feel it. And if people are speeding through your neighborhood and they're ignoring signs and everything, and there are children at risk, I hate that. But my understanding of the way that this SAD was established, it didn't involve paving Park Road. That is the elephant in the room here. There's some people here who are advocating for it to use that money. We have not yet once seen evidence that the SAD money was assigned to paving Park Road, this segment of Park Road, and that is the problem. That's why I can't vote for this, but I want to do it. Now I have the floor. And I will come back. I want to do it if it means reducing the traffic. So the pragmatic part of me is just like, what can we do? I mean, somebody stated tonight and today, I can share my screen. I was looking for traffic calming measures. So what are things that can be done in a neighborhood? I'm a Brit. We have speed bumps everywhere because we don't have snow. We put in road narrowing techniques to force traffic to actually pull over. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Go on Google, Bing, whatever, do a search. There are ways of calming traffic in a neighborhood. It's not impossible and it's not ridiculously expensive. Why are we not having that discussion? Somebody said tonight that can't be done. And I say, why? Why can't it be done? So, you know, I feel for all the different positions in this room, but if the SAD wasn't set up to do this, we need to be really careful legally. If it was set up and somebody can prove it, I'll vote for it. But that's my biggest worry is that it wasn't set up to do this work. It was set up for the maintenance of gravel roads and some additional things, but not once have I seen something that says, pave this part of the road. That doesn't mean that as a committee, we can't at this point start looking to the future, because this SAD is running out at the end of 2023 winter, and we're gonna try and find another way of doing something. Strongly suggest we don't do an SAD and we come up with something else. And then, yeah, let's get this in there. But I'm still not convinced that we should be doing this legally. But again, and I've received a lot of emails from people and I sympathize and I've read them. I'm like, we need to be very, very careful. It's taxpayer money that's been set up and assigned to do something. A couple of other points. Putting the gravel down. Roy has told us that dust calming techniques do not work with a road that is
No gravel.
degraded or gone down or is old. So if it's freshly gravel and it's had the gravel uplift and then you do dust control, it works a hell of a lot better than if you're trying to do dust control on a road that's really old and hasn't had that gravel uplift. That is Park Road. That is the very definition of Park Road. It's not been gravelled. It hasn't had the gravel uplift. It's been graded and it's had some gravel thrown down, but it hasn't had the serious work that it needs. And what I think Bob was alluding to was we don't have money allocated to pave it right now. I think if we, and I agree that we're graveling it and throwing it away. I hate doing that. It's against everything I stand for. But we need to be careful legally. So if we put gravel down, there's a good chance that the dust control will work better than what we're doing right now. And that's the message I was trying to convey. And I'm sorry that some of the residents left and didn't listen, because there's a lot of history here. There's been a lot of discussion about this. And I really wanted to give people a bit of a primer and a background into some of the discussions that have happened here, so that we're not ignoring it. There's some serious debate going on, and I don't know how to proceed. Traffic calming might be one way. I don't know. So I yield the floor.
Don, you had raised your hand, or were you?
You mentioned traffic light in this proposal. You said that putting in the road and a traffic light at Zeeb. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Ziva Park Road is what,
Zeeb Park?
you pull up the other drawing.
Sorry, I was sharing.
Sorry.
That's what, no, you're fine. I'm looking at your screen, actually.
This one?
Yes.
My screen is incredibly too small for that, so.
Well, look on the, turn around so you can see. I think.
No, that's what I was doing. So, and I agree, I can't push for something that I know is the right thing to do, but there's just too many. I don't know if this is legal or not. And just getting into this and just the learning curve is very steep on this. And getting an understanding for it. And Mr. Mars, you had some very strong points, and I fully agree, and I get it. And being in what I do, it's always safety first, and there is no cost to keep people safe. However, I just don't. It's a very short amount of road for a very exorbitant amount of money. So where did that figure come from? And is that something that will potentially go up or could potentially come down?
So what is the figure for the whole project? I mean, everything that you want.
The way I'm
Not
hearing
you,
10 years, I'm sorry, but I'm hearing, there's a lot of time that's gone on.
Yeah.
between when this was first being taught, and we're still sitting here talking about it.
Well,
And,
yes,
you know, so that's
Right.
just trying to wrap my head around it and put it to bed, I guess.
well, it's not going to bed.
I'm trying.
What I'm talking about now is, we need to do the engineering. Is it $10 or $100? You know, at this point, until you engineer the project, you really don't know.
Well,
You know, that's what I'm saying. So that's the first step. You need to figure out, you know, I think that what we talked about doing is a cross section that has curb and gutter, reduce the amount of tree impacts. So we can put a path on the north side and put a signal at the north end, I mean, at Z Road. So that's what the first step is. As far as, this was always talked about paving Park Road. That's why we didn't put gravel on it for the last 10 years. At the road subcommittee, you can go back, I don't know if there's minutes, but that's why we didn't, because there's always talk about paving of Park Road. And in the list that David Reed sent me on the road projects, it listed money for paving of Park Road. So
Well,
that's what
here's-
David Reed sent me from the township when he was the township trustee.
Okay, but this is the list that's on the township website from 2013, and paving is not part of it.
Right.
Now, there was $207,200 set aside for Park Road West. And when I say west, I mean from Zeeb to Liberty. And according to your spreadsheet, there's only $10,000 left of that. According to David Reed's spreadsheet, there's $34,000. So that's not going to cover engineering. And plus, this project was not included in the original 2013.
It had to be.
No, it wasn't. There's nothing that says paving with a light, with a
I
pathway.
didn't say paving, but it was always a project in there.
No, I have the list right here. That was just sent to me from David Reed from our township website. And it's the same list that Lou Kidder sent to me 2 days ago.
It is a local collector road, so it would be eligible.
Only for the improvement that it was allotted for, which was gravel, maintenance and uplift. So we did most of it, but we left that section that was never improved at all. I mean, it's 6 to 8 inches below the sides of the road. I know we've all drove it, right? Or visited. And there's another project that we're not talking, that we don't know about. I mean, as far as the road advisory committee across Zeeb Road, it would be a little bit south of the entrance to Country French. It's a,
No development, right?
yeah, the 5 acres there that they want to put 34 units. Okay, so OHM, Matt Parks is, you know, they're studying all of this, and it's very wet over there. And see, that's the corner, on the corner there is a retention pond that's in front of Country French. That floods in the spring. I live on the other side of on Zeeb Road, so I drive that often, and it's over flooded. Well, when all those trees are removed on Park Road there, this is according to Matt, and he's just doing a guesstimate from the top of his head and what's going to happen. And ditches and culvert, where's that water gonna go? It's gonna go into that retention pond and then into the wet area there that can affect all the homes and on both sides of Zeeb. So this is something that also OHM needs to be looking at. So there, you know, we look at the township as parts, but really we're all connected, and we can't do one thing in one area without affecting another. So there's more questions. And I feel for these people. It drives me crazy when I see just on my little dirt road, people speeding through from the polo fields just to get to Jackson. I understand. I don't even walk my roads because of that reason. And other reasons, but and when it comes to children, yeah, I want them to be safe. But I also agree with Ian, there are other ways. I have it down on this list to talk to the sheriff, to Lieutenant Hunt. And we're gonna see what we can do regarding that. And I know we're short-staffed on deputies as well, so we've got another problem.
I did remember one other thing. This, we zoom out, and one other thing that's gonna happen in 2024. So we can keep talking about, we've talked about this project for 10 years, but I'm just saying, another thing that's gonna happen is a culvert right up here, south of here's Menards. Next year, Trailwoods has to replace that culvert. Road's gonna be closed for 2 or 3 months. Now where's all that traffic going down? Park Road. So either we can figure out a solution, or now we're gonna have 4,000 cars a day going down that piece of Park Road. So that's why
threat.
At least move on to engineering and try to figure out a solution. How much it's gonna cost? I mean, this is actually, this intersection's in the DDA. DDA could help participate in Z, but, there's ways to get there. But if you don't know what we're looking at, we're just sort of throwing darts at a board. We need to figure out what is it gonna cost? How could we fund it? Maybe at the end of the day, we can't afford to do it. Wouldn't even know what we're shooting at.
The DDA goes all the way to Park.
Yeah.
So Arbor Point is within the DDA.
No, this side is, where'd you? Zoom out, sorry. This side is Zebra Road,
Yeah.
is in the DDA. So DDA down here, so.
Okay, yeah, I know it's on the other
DDA
side.
could help on that signal improvement, because it is when, the road commission, there's other, I mean, when you're trying to figure out solutions, you figure out, are there other funding, the path could be paid with, path and parkways, millage. Don Lazinski's money, $800,000 was set aside to do this improvement. And that's why I think, end of the day, the neighborhood SAD, I think that's gonna have challenges because the whole benefit, I mean, that's what's in the Arbor Point deed. But I agree, with, some of the people out there, I really don't think, I mean, for a lot of people in Arbor Point, they support it. But I don't think legally you can assess all those people when they don't directly benefit.
Not for a road that the general public
Right.
uses,
So.
which, yeah, there's a lot of questions with SADs.
So, Roy, if, given the issues with the SAD, what would be your ideal plan? So you've got the culvert happening, you've got Traverwood, when they're gonna do it, they're gonna wait a while because they've got to finish the construction. You suggestion doing the engineering, it seems like we could put out a path.
Right.
That gets us at the soonest possible date, we'll have this new funding package of some kind. What would be the ideal?
Well, you guys brought up a good point. Obviously, 2023 is the last year we're collecting money for the township-wide SAD.
This winter.
This winter's tax.
To
So in 2024, if we do something new, which is, we're gonna talk about later, if we do something new, this could be one of the major projects to do with this new money. And you could, just like we did North Delhi, like we did Liberty, like we did Uplands and Saddle Ridge Road, dedicate money for this project. And for the engineering, we don't take it out of roads. The township board can decide to take it out of their general fund. I know there's obviously money in their general fund. And that's what, end of the day, that's what general fund in my mind is for, to take care of things like that. Figure out an engineering solution. And then developers probably is gonna do their section, but at least we're trying to be proactive rather than sitting and talking about it again for another 6 months, 12 months, and nothing's gonna happen. So it seems like you need to at least get started, the ball rolling, so we can at least develop a plan. So in 2024,
We can
we move forward and figure out if, and maybe the township doesn't want to do another road initiative. That's an option too. But if they do, you would make sense to me, in my mind, to include this in. Obviously, there's a lot of people support it. And for one thing, there's no one that really lives on that road, and I really haven't seen any emails opposing it. So I think that'd be one way to get there. If it wasn't included, I guess maybe the township board just needs to act and figure out what an engineering solution would be and figure out what a cost would be.
To clarify, that would make 3 budget proposals that we're giving to the Board of Trustees. One would be for the money to be spent in 2023 from the Scio local road SAD. One that we're requesting for culverts, which cannot be pulled out of the local road SAD, but needs to be done in 2023. And one for engineering for Park Road that would give a specification for stormwater effects as well as actual costs. And the board can vote how they wish to go. But if we had engineering idea, a new updated cost for this and a real understanding of what it was, then when we are putting together our package that we're trying to do for additional road funding 2024 and forward, we have a real number to work with.
Yes, I agree.
You're supposed to recruit yourself and Not advocating.
There's, so since OHM is, one of our engineering firms and looking at the Arbery Grove or the development on, Z Road down the road, then, to look at all of that at the same time. I think Matt is already looking.
Yeah.
We'll get back. I'll write it down. I will look
At the
into
end of
all
the day, I
of
mean, I don't
this.
think we specify who the township hires as an engineer. I mean, that's obviously, that's.
Yeah, right. No, there's,
multiple engineers that
Yeah.
could do this project. I don't think we need to get into that much detail.
no, but yeah, and we, just engineering cost. Okay, so the 20, all right. So let's, when did you have your hand up again? Oh, that was Ian?
Me.
Go ahead, Ian.
So what does proactive look like? I mean, we've got dust season coming up. We know the culvert's gonna get shut. Is there some stuff that we can get moving now, like some kind of like defensive mechanisms for this particular neighborhood, stop people rushing through there? Is there anything we can do? Or is it, because it's a HOA, is it up to them to do things? I mean, there's some like low hanging fruit in terms of, hey, drive like your kids live here. I mean, it does have an effect. There are slightly more expensive ones like the speed bumps, but that's problematic with the snow. We talked a couple of meetings ago about having, the kind of speed detection signs that show people, what the posted speed is and what they're doing. I mean, all these things have an impact. To me, they're low hanging fruit. They're proactive. Is there anything we can do? Is there anything we can recommend?
We just a question. Arbor Point is, it's an HOA. Those are private roads. It's not.
Public roads,
So the Washtenaw County comes in and,
a lot of the snow.
oh, it does. Okay.
So, yes, so the Washtenaw County Road Commission does have a, traffic calming program. There's speed humps in polo fields. Generally, the neighborhood would have to pay for those. And they have to be justified to do traffic counts and figure out how many people are going through there or speed. So there's a process to get there and figure out the spacing. So there are speed humps, there's tables, there's different things like you said, sometimes the US, we're a little slow to get there, but eventually we get there for traffic calming in neighborhoods. So there are probably, in Washtenaw County is, quite a few communities, Pittsfield Township, Superior Township, Ypsilanti Township, City of Ann Arbor obviously has them. Except polo fields, there are speed humps, so that is an option. There are some things, and maybe at the end of the day, if the recommendation is get the township board to start on the engineering, maybe your idea is, it is a waste of $100,000, $50,000. Put limestone on the road this year and at least extend, to make it a little bit better. But at the end of the day, it's not a long-term solution. It would help a little bit, but it's not a long-term solution because once you have, 2,000 to 3,000 cars a day, a limestone road is really not gonna hold up. But at least it would buy some time. And hopefully by 2024, we would have a plan to fix that piece of Park Road prior to them closing that culvert, because I think that's the critical point. If you don't, then it's, all bets off on, trying to do anything on a 4,000 cars a day on a gravel road. That might be, your idea, that might make some sense.
Some immediate action that will protect the children. Seems like a no-brainer, so.
I'm thinking also of a sign. You've got these transition zones that you're describing are dangerous. Dangerous transition zone or some sign there that flags people down. And so when they hit those ruts first time, then they start noticing the sign and slow down. And not expensive, but it will slow some people down.
Dip in the road.
Big dip in
The
road.
sinkhole is stopping. Washtenaw County, okay, just making notes for things to look up. And any road advisory member that wants to contact road, discuss and how we can look into these things. Anybody wants to volunteer, even parts of this, so we can, figure something out.
I think some kind of communication back to the HOA. I mean, we had an email at some point, I think.
Yes, we do have an HOA contact for Arbor Point and Stephen Country French.
Well, in Country French, they have the bumps, don't they? The speed bumps in there?
Yeah, they do.
So people don't really cut through that.
And the
Do they?
subdivision, the way it's laid out is it makes it less convenient, because actually people in Country French cut through Arbor Point. They don't even want to go.
Right. Yeah, because you have that is Rolling Woods, is it Rolling? That's the long,
Yep.
along Park Road, but inside and yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Ideas? Volunteer? Are we complete with this for right now? I mean, this discussion for right now? Oh, no, we've got to do the budget. Oh, sure.
Do we at some point need township legal to actually come back and say, yes, you can spend on this or no, you can't? We've been dancing around it. If anyone's got the documents, you would hope.
I had a conversation with our attorney, Mariah Fink, today, and she wants me to send over documentation for her to go over. And I will be having a sit down with her on February 13th. So
Good,
yeah, all
thank you.
these questions that we've been bringing up, and been making a list, and but she of course needs to read through everything before she can. So that, yes. Okay, so the next on the the budget request, that's the next under unfinished business.
You guys have a copy of this?
Is that, yeah, it's in the office somewhere. Thanks for.
It was also passed out at the last meeting.
Oh, and this is the same one?
It's the same. Did you
This has
change
been
it?
updated, because I got the real numbers from the road commission. This is the one I sent out.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to print off on the.
Do you have the
thing
one
sheet.
that I sent out today?
What numbers changed?
Or sent out? It was, actually, it was in the packet, but it was in the packet on 5 pages.
I'll take
Yeah.
that, because I keep all of them. Thanks. This is where we get the sticker shock.
If you want, I'll be happy to just walk through. 22 is stuff we did last year, obviously. 20,
Just
sorry.
before you get started, do we know what the township needs now versus what they need in March? Because if they need just a number now, we don't have to go through all the detail. Do they need specifics breakdown, or do they just need for the roads? What's a number to plug in to start the whole discussion?
No, they need the whole list. I mean,
Okay.
this would be the budget, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they only would give them the projects and the money.
Yeah, I'm just saying, for the initial discussion, do they, I mean, there's a process for doing the budget. We can give them the whole list. I just don't know if they need that now or as a time saver.
Well,
Do they need, okay, it's roughly $720,000. Go.
no, they have to have a list of improvements, and
Okay.
we're gathering from each department right now, and
Excellent.
we're
Okay.
trying to get a meeting together with the board to go over all this. Is that right, Will? I mean, with all the back and forth, I don't,
What the plan is for the budget.
Yes.
So first, we're going to circulate a draft to the board for input from the board. Then we're going to try and have a meeting to review that together sometime early in March or possibly late in February. It seemed like that was a better time for people, but I haven't gotten any dates yet from board members.
okay. I know there's, trying to figure out everybody's schedule out has been kind of challenging, so where was it that?
Eventually, there'll be a public hearing on the budget at our first regular meeting in March.
Okay, thanks. Right, go ahead.
I'll try to go quick. I mean, a lot of these really haven't changed. The road commission just gave me updated numbers on what they think the prices are gonna be. So the first one is on, I gotta come across here. Scio Road, which is, Scio Road goes between, actually, I did also, I hate to make you do this, Ian. I did send a map, a township certification map. Sorry.
Go, you want me to share something?
Yeah, we could put it up on the public if you want.
Yeah.
Unless people already know where Scio Road is. Scio Road, it goes between Dexter Ann Arbor Road and Zeke Road.
Which one are you,
It was the email I sent.
show me the graphic?
it's a township certification map.
Yep.
And that's where local collector roads are different from subdivision roads. That's a distinction the road commission does on local roads. There's two types of local roads, subdivision roads and collector roads. These are the local collector roads, the Delhis, the Peters, that. So one project is putting resurfacing on Scio Road and Peters Road. That was last done in 2016. The other one is on West Delhi from Jackson Road to I-94. That was actually done in 2013. That's why it's not listed on here.
Regarding that road,
Go ahead.
there's, okay, so on Jackson 294, right? Yeah.
No, this is from, I said that wrong. It's from, it should be from Dexter Ann Arbor Road to I-94.
Oh, yeah, okay, because the other one, right, okay. So they Jackson to I-94, there's nobody lives there anymore. They took out all the
Right.
houses, so can we scratch that? Or well, there's nothing, okay, I'm
We don't
sorry.
have
I'm looking at
funds,
the two different lines. They're,
I know, if
Yeah.
you get this
Okay.
large spreadsheet,
So you're talking about this little 0.44 section right here. Yep. Okay.
That was done in 2013. Now it's just trying to make sense to do it again this year. The next one on here is East Delhi, the paved portion, which is down by Metro Park.
Yep.
Just resurfacing that, basically doing a chip seal and resurfacing that, just extending the pavement life. That's what that is, repaving that.
It's this little section here. 0.42 of a mile.
Yep, right down here.
Starts just after the railroad tracks.
Goes up that Union Drive. And the other one is on Pratt Road, repaving the piece of Pratt Road.
so repaving or chip seal?
Chip seal.
Chip seal, okay.
Chip seal resurfacing, sorry. Spoke. It's a portion of it's paved from Dexter Ann Arbor to just goes to the east on the pavement.
At that 0.59 section, this little area here.
It's actually this area here. Yeah, this is the primary road, this is the local road.
0.3.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit less than 0.3 was. I don't think pavement doesn't go all the way to West Delhi, it stops somewhere here. Then extending it where the pavement is, then doing a gravel resurfacing on the rest of Pratt Road to Wagner Road. Going all the way.
Pretty beaten up.
And, I'm sorry, what was that again? Wagner to
Pratt Road, Wagner, the end of pavement.
Just
and
here,
it's
Jillian.
75,000.
This-
Yeah.
This area.
And that's for a gravel uplift?
Yeah, gravel, let's gravel road today.
My eyes are crossing here looking.
I know. Especially when you do the colors, it makes it even more complicated. We'll skip Park at this point. Park the paved piece. This
You've
is
skipped it for the last 10 years. Why not skip it again?
The other option we could do is like Ian's suggestion. Get with the road commission, ask them to give us a number to put limestone on to buy a year. And what Linda's saying is put a recommendation to the township board to use general fund money to start engineering on this gap.
Oh, here.
So the other three are on Park Road.
Yeah, I mean, like Park Road
Yeah, New Z Road is
Deep is vertical here.
yeah, so it's paved up to a portion here, then that's talk about paving, and just doing a chip seal resurfacing, then adding gravel on all that limestone, all the way down to
Jackson.
we're kind of that into Jackson Plaza.
Did they give us a discount if we did the gravel uplift on the other portion at the same time?
Yeah, they're out there, but I mean, it's a per ton price, so yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can do it for less than 150. And then the other one is Scio Ridge and Uplands. 120 for the road improvement items of the, trying to make that neighborhood connected and safer for the residents that that use the bus service and kids walking to school and catching the bus.
I'm sorry, Roy. What was for the road part of it, the sad part of it? What did you say again? You said culverts, or not culverts. Got culverts on the mind.
Scio Ridge and Uplands, you're talking about?
Yes.
That's at 120,000.
Yeah, and what was that?
It's for the curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter.
Underground drainage and road repaving items, road items as part of that project.
And then if you notice, I took out dust control because the road commission is now going to do the dust control on primary and local roads. They're funding that now.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that'll save us $40,000 moving forward every year. And then the other one we've talked about is the subdivision special assessment districts that were done doing preventive maintenance resurfacing. That was a commitment we talked about doing when we did start the SAD. Hopefully it's in that list. I remember we made that commitment, but it sounds like some things that we made the commitment on are not in that list, which I think we need to maybe have legal counsel. But that's $28,000 to do that surfacing that we did on North Delhi. It's called RPE, Rapid Penetrating Emulsion. So you won't put stones down. You know, the chip seal, we end up with the small stones that people don't like in their subdivision roads. But it seals the road, sort of like similar stuff you use on your driveway, but a product that dries quickly and you can put traffic on. Like I said, the road commission didn't use it last year in North Delhi. Was pleased with the results, and I think we could do it in, you know, I think there was like at least 5 miles, 6 miles of subdivision road that were done over the last few years.
So all of the neighborhood SADs that had paving, going back to, of course, if they were under 246, then that wouldn't, but in any of the township that we've done since 2013, is that, was that?
Yeah, prioritize which ones we wanna.
Okay, and I know there's. Yeah.
So I think I set up 8 miles. I guess we have to look at what prioritize, or let the road commission prioritize which 8 miles we should start with. We may have done more than 8 miles of SADs.
And then, okay, so it looks like the culverts and, oh, okay, so that's.
Yeah, because I took out the culverts and the local road approaches because at the last meeting I wasn't here, but here again, that was not in the original list. So I guess it was felt that we can't really do those. So I took those out. If we get legal opinion that we could do them, then we could add them, but if not. Then the other part at the bottom is the road commission gives this year the matching program like $99,800 and some dollars. So I just rounded up to $100,000. They give the township each year for matching program if you do improvements on local roads. There were a few years that the township didn't. They gave that money back to the township. I mean, gave back to the road commission in 18 and 19, which I wouldn't recommend. It just we didn't do road improvements. It's a little frustrating, but we weren't involved in that. But I'm just saying, I would always encourage a township to use the money the town road commission gives them for matching rather than giving it back to the road commission. It's crazy.
And that fund, the funding, the road county funding, the matching grant, what can that be used for?
Any of these type of local road improvements.
Oh, any, okay.
Actually, you could probably, pretty sure we could use it to do the engineering on Park Road.
Oh, that's a thought. Okay, let's look into that.
At least leverage that towards that. One question.
Okay. All right.
Think about it.
Is there?
So gravel uplift roughly for a mile is about 100,000.
I thought it was closer to 60 to 80.
Okay.
Some of them vary, and now they're doing a 4-inch uplift versus originally we did 6 to 8 because some of those roads had no stone on them.
Okay.
But like when you do the second time around, like the Delhi's, Jillian, just put a 4-inch.
I'm thinking about Park.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Well, the first time,
I'm looking for a similar distance
Yeah.
and a price.
You want to at least budget 100,000 a mile or more. About 120,000 a mile.
So 60,000 for Park if we were to do the gravel uplift temporarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I hate doing. Don't get me wrong, but I'm looking for some quick fixes.
Temporary, right? Yeah.
A budget number. The township still has to pay for culverts. It's just not coming out of the SAD. As we've talked about a few other items, should we at least note what the likely bill for culverts is going to be for 2023? Whether it comes out of the SAD or comes out of another funding pot.
The Road Commission didn't have a list of what project, I don't think they're doing any culverts this year let's put it this way. They're currently not planning to place any culverts in Scio Township. Obviously, things happen and they fail. That wasn't planned. But right now, I don't believe they have any culverts planned. Because it's sort of a process, you got to get a permit from Eagle and all the things, so you sort of plan it out. I think the one on Parker, it's a primary road, but that was sort of an emergency that it's in worse shape than they realized, so that's why we're replacing that one sooner versus later, the one south of Dexter Chelsea Shield.
So the final number is 0.
Yeah, I think at this point, they didn't give us a number, so.
And we asked for one.
Excellent.
And we asked for one, right? So that's the good news.
But eventually,
Yeah, eventually you want
we
to budget
should-
money for that because, yeah, culverts do fail.
Any other questions?
So are we going to propose doing this uplift on Park? Do we want to amend this and try and then push a recommendation for engineering costs somewhere else? So
Ian, I got a suggestion. To me, the right thing to do with Park, there are a number of issues related to Park. And we're jumping right to pave Park. And I'm not convinced that that will solve all of these issues. The speeding, the dust, and all this things that people talk about. To me, the right thing to do is to fund an engineering study with a list of issues and say, what can we do to resolve these issues? And don't say, I just want to pave. Let's see what the engineering study recommends to resolve all the issues. You're still going to have speeders. Okay? You don't have enough police to police that street. People are going to go 50 miles an hour. They don't care what the sign says. It's 70 miles on I-94. Everybody does 80, 85. So there's a number of issues there, and people are conflating these issues and thinking that paving that half a mile is going to solve everything. It's not going to. So to me, the right thing to do is an engineering study with a list of issues and have some experts come in and say, here's what we can do to provide a remedy or alleviation of the problem. And I'm still of the mind that we go in the meantime and redo the substrate, crown the road, and lay down limestone. And that'll take care of the dust from what we see on our road. We don't have that kind of dust problem.
It's not as bad as it used to be.
The brine,
Whatever we did on East Delhi 5 or 6 years ago
Dust
has
is
held up
better.
pretty good.
Yeah, it was 2020 actually, wasn't it?
you had a gravel uplift. at that
Yeah.
time? Okay.
There's two of them done, one in what,
2020
Yeah,
and
but you had the first
20
one done in what?
2015.
So we had a major.
First one was made, the second one was just,
Yeah, made a difference.
Like, we will have another public comment period. It should be,
I'm just trying to get to,
Maybe soon.
like, do I scratch out that 150 for engineering right now and put something in there to do the gravel uplift as soon as we can? Or are we leaving it there?
I'd leave
I
it
would
there as a
do
placeholder.
Do the engineering?
I would do engineering with the goal of alleviating all of the issues around that.
I agreed to doing the engineering. I'm looking at the spreadsheet and the numbers. Like, do we leave that number there and we,
What would engineering cost to do a study like?
150 is what's in
that's,
the budget?
yeah, that's a target number that was, we haven't got proposals, but that was just at least a starting point.
But does that include the traffic light and all the other things that go with it, sidewalks, or
Potentially, yes. I mean, I get proposals from a couple engineering firms and let them tell us what the
isn't
number
a
is.
traffic light $400,000 on its own?
If you want mast arm steel and all that stuff, but you could do, another signal for 200,000.
I can't believe you can't do an engineering study just to come up with ways to resolve the issues for a lot less than $150,000.
No, I would agree. This is complete engineering. Step one, you're right. Just look at it and say, okay, what's it take for the drainage? What's it gonna take for the signal? What's it gonna take for the road? Those things. And then you get in, then you figure out what that number
The
is.
traffic
Then
calming.
you're jumping,
Including the traffic calming too.
traffic calming be on the side roads in subdivision.
Yes, but that's what I'm hearing is one of the major issues is the cut through. Well, paving is not necessarily going to resolve that issue.
No, we'll lose out because people are not gonna cut through because they're gonna go, they really wanna get the Z road.
But if you put a traffic light, they'll cut through again. I would. I hate traffic lights.
No, you try to get out of our subdivision on Z road, you're gonna use a light because you can't get out. Because Z road is pretty busy. It's 5
Depends on the
lanes
time
there.
of day, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. Still hate traffic lights.
Yeah, I would too.
They're, yeah, don't get me started. It's the Brit in me.
what car do you drive? Linda?
I'm sorry. Bob, we found in the past that if we don't ask for a budget amount, then it's harder to go back in and revive the budget and add to it. But if you have a budgeted amount and it's not spent, that's okay. It just gets absorbed back into the budget. It doesn't go anywhere. So
I'm
could
just
we
suggesting the
respectfully?
steps. I'm not even talking about.
Yes, but so we get an engineering study in 2023, but there's no money allocated to do the work. So the work can't be done because it's not a Washtenaw County road project right now, unless we tell them that it would be one. So I'm trying to add to your idea. I concur that the engineering should happen first. But if the engineering is completed before September, so there's still time to do work on that road, and gravel could be put on that road and we have money budgeted to do so in 2023, then that work could be done before the end of the year. Otherwise, it will actually get pushed into 2024 because there's no budget to do the improvement to the road. There will be no.
I'm actually advocating then that we add another 60,000 to the 150,000 so that we've got money to do the gravel uplift. And then it's there if we need it.
I agree with that.
Because, yeah.
So when a road has a gravel uplift, are engineers involved? Only when there's paving and, okay.
Indirectly, but not, you don't need, they can just go out there and do that. They're not gonna need an engineering study to add gravel to your road. That's good news.
Yeah.
It'd just be actually, you'd be paying to have material put on the road rather than engineers look at solutions and problems.
So
I think it's a good solution.
Again, it pains me, but what are we gonna do?
Lynn's right. If we don't put something in the budget, then it becomes, okay, it's not in the budget, then it takes, and if it's not spent, it just rolls into next year anyway. So it's not like we're spending the money, we're just allocating, setting aside money in a budget, so it could be spent on these type of improvements.
Okay, I have an idea. So if we put the engineering cost, 150,000 in here, I will find out if it can be paid for under the township-wide SAD or not. And if not, then we will, and that's okay, because if we put it in, give it to the board or before it's submitted to the board, because again, we have a little bit of leeway time until it's actually, we have the board meeting and where we accept the budget from the whole township, and then we have our public hearing. So in that time, we have enough time to look at how we can pay for this, either through the SAD if that's legal, and if not, then I'll create a motion to go in front of the board with, and we can do it together, actually. How does that sound?
And I like Ian's idea of that. It's
The
So 150 becomes 210.
210.
but still need to deal with the cut throughs and whatnot. So I'm also, I'll contact Lieutenant Hunt and see, at least in that part, if we can contact the road commission, see if there's anything, even if it's a, private, well, it's not a private neighborhood though.
No,
See,
but-
that's,
But no, we can still do, you can do traffic calming on public roads. I mean, if it's a private sub, they could just do whatever they wanted to. Where they wouldn't have to talk to the road.
oh, that's true.
I mean,
Just
that's
put
what
up a
Country French
fence.
does. That's why they put up speed humps, because it's their own roads. But yeah, but there's a process. I can talk to the HOA, obviously. Figure with them. And we can I can bring back what the process is, the road commission's process at the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm assuming that even though it's winter, it's winter and there's traffic going through, that in the summer, it's only gonna get worse.
Right.
Yeah,
And they're building new homes in Trail Woods every day.
yeah,
People are moving
that's
in every
true.
day, or not every day. So
Okay.
many per month type thing. So you're saying that the new budget would be 780? You added 60, so the new number would be 780.
Yep.
Swear, it feels like the air conditioning goes on and then the heat comes on. It's weird. So where are you putting that in?
The 150.
Oh, the 150 is there,
That
but then.
becomes 210. Just add 60.
Dark blue, we can't.
And then that affects the bottom line. 220, no, 720 goes to 780.
You said it's about 60 for uplift.
60 for uplift, yeah.
Okay. And Roy, could you update this? With-
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
it'll look a
reach
lot
out to the road
nicer.
commission too, you can for that 60 number, if you'd like.
Mhm.
Let them, rather than us just sitting around table like.
For clarity, if we're gonna present it to the board, can we add an additional column that shows the road commission projected projects for 2023, so they can see, if the board looks at it, they can see real clearly which roads. the
Yeah,
road commission-
I'll just
Make them
collapse all,
color or
I'll just
something.
collapse all the columns, right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. They don't, I just do this for our history.
Yep. Make
Like,
it
it's really
simpler,
useful.
make it
But I
simpler.
collapse the columns, so yeah. Yeah, I know, that's where it gets going across, we get too far across. But I'll just collapse the columns for the one.
I should probably do that right now. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier. Do that work all the time.
And you got to follow it exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we need a motion on?
We do. Vote on the budget?
Yes.
You make the motion. Done with the work.
Okay. I don't even think to write. I'll just go back to this, I guess. I have my notebook on my desk and everything else in the other room, so.
You have the one last year.
Do that.
Do this?
No, for.
Oh, wait a minute.
Do we have the one that we did last year?
I have all
Talked about it
the,
last meeting.
that was, did we do that in,
February or March?
oh, we were really late?
It was March last year.
I think it was March, because we didn't know about it until, we
Oh,
didn't start
right.
until January. And then we found out in February we had to have a budget, then, yeah, we're scrambling, so I think it was the March meeting.
Oh, yeah, here it is. That was a long,
Way too many.
That's the
minutes.
difference between, the road commission and, yeah, there
Scio
would be,
Township.
is there a resolution?
No, I
Is
don't
there
know.
a resolution in the minutes that was
Yeah.
attached to that is what
Yeah.
we're looking for?
The road commission, or
Because we pulled the language from it.
the road advisory committee recommends the Scio Township Board of Trustees allocates $400,000 from the township-wide SAD funds for WCRC work and $100,000 for culvert restoration / replacement. Based on the draft Scio Township agreement, which leverages $100,027 in local matching funds for 2022. That was what was in for March. So I can update that and put in 780. Take out the 100,000 for culvert replacement and then note approximately 100,000 for matching funds. If that's what the group wants, and I'll send it out with the minutes.
okay. So could you read that so we can vote, I
Yeah.
guess? And this would be the motion.
Yeah, the motion is the road advisory committee recommends the Scio Township Board of Trustees allocates $780,000 from the township-wide SAD funds for WCRC work. Period. We're not talking about culverts this time around. Additionally, the road committee expects $100,000 of matching funds, local matching funds from Washtenaw County.
Is there a second? Roll call vote?
We could probably just, we need a roll call to go on a voice vote.
I guess. I don't know the rules on that one. For the
We
budget.
can just do, I mean, there's some questions about, I mean, I don't directly benefit, but I don't want this committee to be.
Shall Roy and I step down from this vote?
It's the budget. My feeling is that the budget is the budget, and if, because eventually we're gonna be dealing with Park Road project. What do you think? I mean,
Step down, just.
So they just say all in favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It would have passed without them anyway.
Okay.
So
It's passed unanimously.
So the intention is that you're gonna bring that to the board soon, so that they've got some kind of placeholder in their budget that they're putting together, and we'll figure out how that.
I will figure out the engineering or, the legal aspects of the engineering first, and then Roy is going to recreate this, to polish it up, and then we'll go from there. Yeah,
I think it's
and there's another department that doesn't have their budget in, so we're not too bad.
We needed to have this meeting.
Yes, we did. Thank you for going over this again. Okay, you're finished with
I'm
what you
finished with
needed?
that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next 2023 to 2033, which is really far away, road funding presentation, which would be, who is presenting it? Roy or Patrick? Or
I am.
You are. Okay, sorry.
I ask Ian as our expert if he can bring it up.
I can if I
You're
know.
the
what-
AV guy.
I can if I know where it is. Did it?
It's actually in the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Do you know the funny thing was I was just spending a minute to find the agenda right now. Okay, I'm showing the agenda.
If you click on the 2023 road funding
This guy.
presentation, yep.
Thank you. And then this guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I had thought when I retired, I was never, ever going to have to use PowerPoint again. So disappointing.
And then you volunteered for a committee.
Yes.
You tell me when and
Yeah,
I'll
I'll get you,
slide
just
over.
recognizing we've been here 2.5 hours, I'm going to be very quick. 4 of us, Roy, Patrick, myself, and Steve, who was here, left, have a meeting to talk about where do we go next, to be blunt? Because if you go to the next one, the current township-wide SAD ends with taxes collected this February. So it's done. We looked at what are the options post 2023. Didn't really want to be subjective, but we were in a couple. Do nothing is an option. I don't think we as a group would recommend that. Tap into the general fund, I don't think is recommended because that assumes there's $500,000 to $1 million a year just floating around unused, which seems unrealistic. So basically, we're getting to 3 choices. And again, we don't know the amounts, and we'll get into that, but we can do a millage. The board can do a levy, or we can put it out to the voters to vote on it. Or we can come up with a new township-wide SAD. If you go on to the next, part of the reason we've been talking is there are secondaries. Roy brought in here, I think in December, outline of discussions he had with Jillian and Jessica about potentially increasing the scope of what we do from what we've done with township-wide SAD. And we've also been talking about things that are somewhat ambiguous. And by that, to me, really means sidewalks and pathways. And talk about how do we define these better, because sources for funding for them really can come from the road funding, from the bus millage, from the DDA, the parks. We started to try to do is define where and why funding should come from certain areas, and that's later in the presentation. Next slide. This is just quick. There's roughly 49 miles of county primary roads, 25 miles of county local roads. We noted where funding for these comes from, not how much from each. 34 miles of subdivision, and just so no one is kept in the dark, private roads, none of the money will go to private roads. That's subject to the residents on those roads. Next slide. We started to talk about where the township-wide SAD funds could be used. And we just decided rather they get into that morass, because we've been looking at that for months. We just note that it's there, and that's actually one of the lessons learned that's on a later slide. Next slide. What have we learned? Education needs to be better, not just of the residents, but of us, the committee, and of the board. It's not basic knowledge as to what routine maintenance and repair is. And we also don't know, because it wasn't captured well, what the SAD can and cannot do. We do know that the gravel roads are basically better due to the SAD. If anyone wants to contest that, Park Road is the controls road. If you look at the others versus Park, you can say they are definitely better.
Or some of the adjoining.
Or some of
townships.
the adjoint, yes.
Yep.
So it's trying to avoid subjective, but I think we can really say that the gravel roads are better. There haven't been many issues with the SAD. The $85 a parcel is fairly easy to understand. But we have to make sure that however we go forward, we're very clear as to what's within scope and what's out of scope. whether it's the village or an SAD. Quickly on current road maintenance, if there are questions, Roy's the person for this, but basically the county primary roads, the road commission is pretty much responsible for the routine maintenance and the necessary work on pavement, culverts, and bridges. County local roads, again, the road commission does the routine maintenance, snow removal, storm damage cleanup, road grading, marking signs. The township's responsible for more significant items. Subdivision, again, same, and private roads, just to be clear, no taxpayer support. Future things that we've talked about, briefly mentioned because we talked them off the list. We know we have to include funding for local road paved approach or apron, depending on what you have to call it. There was recognition for non-private road SAD so that the township would cover maintenance. So as an example, if my neighbors and I decided to do an SAD to pave Buckridge Lane, the township would not be responsible for coming in and doing any preventative maintenance because it's a private road. And we need to make sure that there's money for culvert replacement rather than just assuming it's in the general fund. We should make it clear that whatever the funding mechanism is, there may be more we can add to the list. Part of the reason for this is we need input as we then flesh this out to get it to the board. Next. Again, the expansion. We use Texas Township as the example. They're covering everything other than private roads. I'm not going to go into the detail. The back of the envelope rough number was, as an example, the SAD would probably have to go up $100 from 85 to 185. Again, not a hard number. It was a back of the envelope based on paved roads and gravel roads within Scio Township. If it's a millage, it's going to be a different number, but for us as a start, it was a conceptual of what it would cost to get there.
Okay.
We're trying to be, we can answer questions. Sidewalks, we sat down and we, again, since Roy and Patrick were part of TAP and Steve was TAP, of how do we talk about sidewalks, pathways, and trails, because it's just confusing as to where you get the money. So we started to try to define this. So if it's talking about sidewalks for pedestrian safety or to connect neighborhoods as part of a road improvement, realistically, we thought that was a road funding item. If you're talking about sidewalks to get access to bus stops or other public transportation, we think that should be part of the bus millage. And if it's part of new development, we should put a tab on the developer. If we start to get to crosswalks or traffic lights to get pedestrian access to businesses within the DDA, maybe we can tap the DDA to say, hey, we need some help paying for this. Trails or pathways to link parks, that's really in the parks millage. Part of the reason to bring this up is the bus millage is coming up. If we really want to make a push for the people working on the bus millage, they need to make sure that, assuming they agree, that there's funding in the bus millage should they be envisioning more sidewalks to connect neighborhoods to buses. Don't know that.
Quick question, TDA?
Yes.
Or not TDA, I'm sorry, the bus millage, I haven't read the language, but under the DDA, the DDA, not you personally, but the DDA put shelters. And so did they pay for did the bus millage pay for that or did the DDA?
I believe the DDA actually paid for the.
I think the DDA did too.
And then did the easements that assisted with the easements and got construction done.
But what we were looking at, if the bus millage is up for renewal, which I think it is in 24, it's like 0.34 mils. So you might, whatever the new number is going to be, let's say it's 0.35, I don't know. Should you make it 0.4 at half a mil, half of, or half,
0.05.
0.05 of a mil, that collects whatever, that could, fill those sidewalk gaps and come out of, because obviously AATA, they have money for operating,
then have money set aside to do stuff. So that's why we're just thinking, you know,
We're trying to think more than just roads, and sidewalks have come up in our meetings a number of times. It's, can we start broader than our committee talking about how does the township want to handle these? So again, because of the
Another
group,
way we look at it is, we just keep finding holes. You're finding the money to do Upland Drive.
Sidewalk gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why should it shouldn't be so hard? But it is. And so we were trying to think more systematically about where the pots of money are that we can just add a little bit and start to have money to address these issues, because they're there.
the whole transportation network, especially, I mean, the township, we're talking about sustainability. So I think we need to make sure these things are all talking to each other. So people at the end of the day, you know, there is a way for people to get to work, you know, walk, bike or whatever, besides just driving vehicles everywhere.
Well, yeah, and I know there's a difference between a sidewalk and a pathway regarding, one is recreational and the other is infrastructure. You know, I mean, in a neighborhood, and that came up under the Parks and Pathways millage.
and we're just trying to get people to think about it so that we, as Patrick said, we fill the holes. If there's a better understanding, or at least a better group belief of, here's, given a broad definition, here's where you should go, at least initially. There may be cross funding. It may be something that makes sense for two groups to fund. But it's just been hanging out there. And as we were talking, it's okay, this is a chance to at least raise awareness of, let's close the gaps. Last, our quick timeline, next slide. We wanted to come in here. Part of this is, and again, I'm sorry that this has been brief, but it's been a long meeting. We need feedback. The four of us have been meeting long enough. We need other people to start looking at this and giving, hey, what's the right mechanism and how do we actually take this forward and sell it? We know there's more details. We have a rough idea of the number of parcels. We can, based on the number of parcels, and if it was 85, what the SAD would generate an SAD, or if it was 185, we can then translate that into mills, so we can give a comparable. If it's a millage, this is a rough number of the mills. If it's an SAD, this is a rough number, whether you want to continue the spending at current levels, or if you hypothetically want to match what Texas Township is trying to do. We're working on getting roads so that it's clear as to what are local and subdivision roads, so that there's less confusion about that. And then the most important thing is, we've got to sit down with the board and say, all right, depending on which pathway we go, what's the timeline that you need to get information to you so that it can go through the appropriate reviews with the public as well as with the board, and provide time for a decision, particularly if it's a voter related millage that they want to get into a special election this year. That's accelerated, compressed timing. Other things, maybe not so much. But that's, and again, some of this stuff, we've started to talk about pros and cons of each approach. So we've got rough numbers on funding, but we're really looking at this point before we start getting into the weeds as to, is this the right approach?
Could we place this on the agenda for the next meeting?
I think we have to.
And the budget's gonna be out of the way by then, and there's nothing other.
I'd like input if people have it before then, just so that we can update this.
We will schedule for a couple weeks from now to keep it moving.
Yeah,
So if
we're
we
gonna
get some-
start putting in more of the detail that we've got.
Just keep kicking it out. I mean, can you feed the information? Can you provide the slideshow, and whenever you make changes, like
sure,
note that in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Would be a good idea, and I can
Please
do
and
it.
thank you.
Sorry, to ask Jessica Flintoff about if we wanted to try and get it on a special election, what the timing would be.
I can go talk to Jessica and find
Just
out.
so that we have that for next week, so that we understand
Next
what
time.
our,
Yes.
sorry, next meeting, understand what our timing would be.
And again,
I can tell you right now, we're going to have a big ballot proposal for the fire department in November.
Yep.
And that should be all by itself. And the other thing is the bus is 2024, the bus renewal.
I believe so.
It's soon.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe having both the roads and the bus at the same time.
And that's if you put it to the voters.
Yeah, if that goes to a millage,
Right.
right, because one way or another, we've got to go through all of this. But let's just say it was a millage for ballot votes. But then we also have if we do this a SAD, then we have to have public hearings, and there's a process for that.
There's public hearings probably regardless of which way we go. It wouldn't be right to go forward without talking about what we're doing and why.
Well, we would have to go in front of the board
Yes.
for a ballot question. They have to accept it and all of that. And I think, isn't it the public hearing at the same time or something?
It is a process.
Yeah, there's a process, right?
We can find out the process. On the other hand, as we've talked before, even with the 780,000, there's probably still money left in the pot that if we need to, could cover part of 2024, depending on what we do.
Okay, so I'm making a note that this is going under unfinished business for the next meeting, but in the meantime, you're requesting
I'm looking for input
input.
from the committee as to, is this the right path? And if so, how do we put it together differently if need be, or what more do you want to see?
Also, I'll put together numbers so we can, that 185 versus 185, or if it's, 0.4 mils versus 0.85 mils or something like that, whatever the numbers are. I'll show you how those numbers are back in the napkin. If we want to do just the local road, local connector roads again, or if we want to do all the subdivision roads, meaning the gravel subdivision roads, which we have quite a few gravel subdivision roads in this township, and the paved subdivision roads in this township. So make it all inclusive of all local roads.
Roy, when we sat down with Jess, you had I probably have it in here in my mess somewhere, but you had like 0.5 mils, 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, or something like that. Maybe off.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'll put together the spreadsheet to show people.
Yeah.
And I think the number when I was looking at, if we had revenue about 1.2 million a year, that'd take care of paved roads, that'd take care of the subdivision roads and the local collector roads.
Did you have sidewalks in there? Or we didn't talk about that at the time?
Because that's the other thing is, do we want to put a portion of it for the tap thing that was supposed to happen last time that didn't happen? So those are all some of those discussions we need to sort out. And that's why it's like all this confusion and how do we
close the gaps
and make sure that next time it's like everyone has a clear understanding of what this money is going to be used on.
We owe that to the taxpayers.
Yes.
To be honest, we owe it to the people who come after us on this committee.
Well, we're all taxpayers and, we need to do things properly by them.
No, totally agree, but
Yeah,
not
I
knowing
just-
has been a pain for us.
Well, we're going back in history and cleaning up a lot of things.
The thing is the idea of setting aside money for the local neighborhood SADs came after the Park Ridge meeting. We just saw how hard that all was. And if there's ways to make it simpler for those communities and for us, we should look for that. So that kernel of an idea came from this.
Yeah.
That set of meetings.
And SADs we did this year in 2022 or last year in 2022. Yeah, I think what you take away from those can be really challenging and painful. So do we really want to continue doing that for another 10 years?
And I hate to see neighborhoods torn apart and enemies created because of, whatever the project. That was awful. So, okay, so for now, so send it to Bob directly. We cannot be discussing through emails more because we're all guilty of this, just to stay in under the Open Meetings Act. So just send it to you directly and you can
Send
put
it-
that together.
Send it to me directly and I'll put it
Okay.
together.
Okay, oh, one other thing. So we have the Road Advisory Committee at sciotownship.org, and that's where we all get the emails. So we have the RAC chair. And if there's anything that needs to come to me, please send that. I'm the chair, so send it to me. And any agenda items goes to the secretary. So this way we can keep things, we didn't put you into that email,
No.
so because we called you the secretary for minutes.
I am the minutes.
Okay, the minutes man.
Is there
There's
secretary
a
email?
new email that's secretary.
We can't
at
do
our-
that.
It's always
RAC
been there,
secretary.
I guess, and I
Well,
found
on
this
the-
talking to Christie,
On the
so,
agenda are all of the email addresses.
yes, and I put
Yep.
them in there for that reason. So even correspondences can go to Patrick. I wanted to go to the whole committee, but you're gonna get that anyway, so we can, and as soon as those items come in, I'm going to upload them into Peak under correspondences. I'm trying to minimize the time that we spend, because we have so much to do. We wanna go visit roads and other things, and I think it would just be easier for all of us to have it kind of compartmentalized.
Is there still a way to have a chart of who has contacted us from the citizens, so we can go back and we can identify those
Oh,
emails
I'm-
and find the back?
I'm maintaining it.
Yes.
You
Some-
gave- you
some-
gave it
some
to
way
me. Absolutely.
To find those email
It- it
addresses
should
back
be-
rather than,
It's in your pack.
yes, I just, but moving forward, please. come up with
Well,
a
and you
plan,
know,
so.
could
Yeah,
we have it,
absolutely.
it's gotta be in a different format, because when it's uploaded, it's warped for some reason, and Christie we can't figure out why it keeps getting warped. So if it's in a different format than what we've had, or if you keep,
I think I was keeping it in a Google Doc, and that may be what the problem is. It may need to be an Excel file.
I don't know, but
I sent it to you as.
Right. Yeah, I think I converted it to an Excel. Because I.
That should solve the problem.
I'll talk to Christie.
okay, yeah, please. Okay, the next thing.
Something real quick too.
Oh, yeah,
We are having a subcommittee, and I guess if anyone wants to join us.
Oh, yeah.
We run into quorum problems.
Oh, that's right. So, okay. Bad idea.
So no, you can't.
So,
We'd love to invite you, but we can't.
so we can only have what, 4?
5. Yeah, you can only have 4, but that's 4 from our group.
That's why Steve,
Um,
we had essentially 3 from TAP and 3 from the roads, just because these 2 covered both.
Yeah, and I would like to see more of our committee members involved. We have, Jeff isn't here tonight, he's ill, but you know, in more of these discussions, I would really like to see that. I mean, we have underutilized, well, Don, this is your 3rd meeting, I think. So, yeah, and Bob, you know, all of it, well, you're already on the subcommittee, but you know what, yeah. Linda, well, you're on the DDA. I mean, we're all on all these other committees, but I would, you know, as the road advisory committee, just for more of us to get involved in different, even if it's a subject in our resolution or a, what do you call it? No, charge. We have 7 charges. And I did add a little, under J, educational information. So I added the Public Act 188. I know we've all had it before, but I put that in there. And then Lou Kidder, he just emailed his list that from 2013. So I included that as well. So if there's anything educational you want to upload into that, because as we're finding, there's a lot to this. It's more than, yeah, I think we're doing more detail than the previous road advisory committee, but you know, just from the notes I was going through, I'm like, huh. And we've only been doing this a year. Okay, so the last thing, let's see, public comments.
Not draft minutes or any of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, the minutes.
Approve those sets of minutes.
Did the minutes not, oh, the draft
Sorry.
minutes. Okay.
Minutes.
I'll second them.
Okay.
Anybody? not
I
in
read
favor?
through them and I didn't see any issue.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
You're all video recorded anyway, so. We got the minutes.
Yeah, we'll include.
Voice vote? All in favor?
Aye. Oh, and that was for,
2 months.
yes, and we
December.
figured out the issue why you had the November 2nd, because it was uploaded on the website under December and we couldn't get it off the website. So Christy figured it out. So
My motion wasn't for both.
it was for both, yes, okay.
Seconded for both.
I did second for both.
Yes.
And we said aye for both.
Okay, and the committee,
Efficiency.
yeah, oh, sorry. The committee reports, they're included, we don't need to read them, but if you, you need to read them, but we don't have to go over them at the meeting, and if there's any questions, please, comment on them. Oh,
May I
Linda?
ask a really quick question. So we had discussed earlier, I have a DDA meeting coming up in a month. Do you want me to submit a roads advisory committee request to the DDA or report to the DDA about this traffic light at Z Road and Park Road? Do you want me to bring that in?
What do you think?
Yes, as a discussion
Yeah.
point, yes. I'd be curious to see what they say.
I want it to be a group decision, not my submitting it to the DDA. So if it's a request, I will happily do so.
Yeah, that would be great. And again, yeah, 4:30. Good night.
I will catch up with you on.
Public comments.
I just want to say thank you. This is absolutely amazing. I've never been to one of these and it's fascinating what goes into government. So thank you for that. Thank you for, it's 9:30. You guys can be.
So, yes, usually they don't last this long, so.
No? All right, okay.
Yeah, you should attend more.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
We're on YouTube and you can watch the past ones.
Oh, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be brief. Mr. Townsend, you have been on the road advisory committee for the past 10 years, correct? You and Lou Kidder and,
Well, that's what we talk, so I mean, I don't know.
well, you can, you have an option.
No, I have not. I've been on and off the committee multiple years. I obviously I worked at the road commission, so I really wasn't, I was a member for the road commission, not as a township appointee. So
My point is-
I attended them, but I wasn't on the Scio road committee.
My point is that you are making statements about what the original 2013 projects were included, and you're making definitive statements that Park Road was supposed to be paved.
Well, yes, I was involved in those discussions, yes. I
Well-
was at the road commission at the time.
Okay, but
The road commission.
okay, but you know that there was a line item for it to be, what is it called, a gravel uplift? So for 10 years, that did not happen and you were involved. And you didn't do anything for 10 years. And now you're encouraging your subdivision to jump on this when you had a chance for 10 years and you didn't do anything because they never got the gravel uplift. So it makes me wonder why now? Why are you doing it now? Why are you pushing for Park Road paved now? You didn't 10 years ago, you haven't for the past 10 years. It's only in the past 1 year, especially since Mr. Hathaway tried to force it down Country French Estates and they all went, nope, nope, nope. So what is it that you guys, why are you doing that now? What do you get out of it? I know what one of the committee members gets out of it, but I don't know I haven't figured out what you get out of it. Secondly, you keep talking about, you're trying to model after Texas Township. And you state in your presentation, Texas Township covers all of their roads. All of the roads, and you're not trying to cover all of the roads. 30% of the road, by your definition, are subdivision roads. Now, a lot of people don't want their roads paved, but they're not getting any benefit from paying taxes for this. We get no benefit.
Go, sir.
Thank you.
I like to be last sometimes.
I'm back. Thank you for just letting us listen to your discussion. I do appreciate the work you do. This is very valuable to our community and I appreciate each one of you. I came emotional with what I observed because I live in a community and we have issue and people see it from their own angle, but I see it exactly from where I live every day. I hope nobody dies on that street. I hope nobody dies while we're still debating this.
They don't die at sea either.
Okay, well, accidents have happened not too far from what we're discussing here. So having said that, and the gentleman here have suggested a study, fine, I'm an engineer, I believe in studies. Gentleman over here has bold action, said he knows it. He saws the traffic, where it's gonna flow. So after hearing all this, and the gentleman over there has said some kind of countermeasures to retard the traffic stuff, I think if you put all this together, what I'm going to propose is for this team is, first of all, we have a danger, we have issue right now. If a child dies, or if somebody gets broadsided and that stop sign where nobody stops, who's gonna take the responsibility? We have said it, we have stated it here. So my proposal will be possibly while you're doing this remedial thing, studies, countermeasures and stuff, probably put some boulders and block that road that's in the neighborhood that's coming in so that people don't come in and cut and zip through there. Put a sign that says no through traffic and a fine associated legally, maybe some kind of fee assessed, no through traffic, and put a sheriff on the other end. That money will pay itself for itself. While you do the study, maybe you could put the limestone and stuff while you do the study. I would suggest do a safety measure first, protect. If you do that, then you could do your study, debate it, the pros and the cons, but something is going to happen, I'll tell you, in there. Just last week is right there, I've seen it. One of my neighbors were assaulted, by somebody going through, and she was slow enough because she's pulling in the driveway. He was not patient enough, and raised his finger, everybody cursed her out, and it was like shocking. So you don't see it. Ladies, you don't see it, you're far away from that. I see it, I'm right there. So please take the safety issue first. I would not be here today at all. I know you guys do day in, day out your job. We have a desire to serve our community, and I do appreciate that. But please take the safety, whatever it is, whether put some boulders and block that entrance, second entrance into subdivision as temporary measure, and then put also the limestone and stuff there, and then cut the dust out, and then figure out what's to be done. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, I've been watching all of these for a long time, paying attention. Anyway, there's many statutes, not just 188, that make this not correct. Legal. Now, I'm hoping we get a millage passed so we can take care of a lot of roads. And I never personally had a problem with the $85. But I think what you need to look at is the legalities of some of it, the cost. I'd like to have that budget put in your packet when you put it up there so we can actually look at the budget, because they're looking at tripling. Some of the people are talking about tripling the fire department. We're talking about this road. So, I personally don't have a problem with increasing it. Thanks, Roy. And the main thing is whether they temporarily block it off. This, by paving it, is not going to, in my opinion, stop people from going down Rollingwood. They're going to avoid a light. They already do. I used to live off of Pratt Road, which went downhill down to Wagner. Lived there for a long time. So what did people do? They came through Scio Hills always to get to Wagner. So there wasn't a huge push to, and there's some very beautiful homes along Pratt Road. Now, this may sound like a funny saga, and Roy may be aware of it because he lives in my same neighborhood. is that when they wanted to pull everybody off of polo fields, 4 neighborhoods, our neighborhood, Country French, to build down North Zeeb, more businesses, and to put in was called something else. This is in 2007, a PUD, which is now Trailwoods. They wanted on-site sewer systems because they didn't have sewer capacity from Ann Arbor. So our current compensation person on our supervisors committee, Jim Dries, was all for that. And it became all a moot point. But this is really a cut through for Zeeb Road. You're not gonna just, this isn't servicing Trailwoods, Country French, and whatever they're gonna put in over there, the Og Braid Groves. This is going to be a major cut through. And actually, I think by paving it, you're going to increase the amount of people. The people that live on Rollingwood have no idea what's gonna happen to their backyard. Another little interesting tidbit is Grosse Pointe Woods agreed to do this thing with the school board for a health clinic. Well, guess what? They cut. It was now 8 months later, not passed. They're paying for all this engineering costs. And it'll probably come out of the school board money. And that's my thing with engineering. And you guys have talked about this in previous meetings. How much those engineering plans and these culverts you're planning. My thing too is you can have the APOHA write a letter. You can give a presentation to them. These people have no idea what some of this stuff entails, how much it's gonna cost them. They think the township's gonna pay for this stuff, the ones that even know anything about it. And it's really a shame. And it's kind of the way life is. Everybody's very busy doing their thing and they don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of problems that need to be worked out prior to that. I appreciate you all working on it because I was hoping you'd have a process of how people could initiate an SAD and those, because a lot of people do not want their roads paved. Tubbs Road, there's a $10 million homes out there. They keep it a natural beauty. They don't want traffic cutting through there up around there. You look on over off of Eisenhower, very expensive. So they made a natural beauty, they keep it dirt. So, you know, there's a lot of problems with it. And I hope we can address some of them. But like I said, Supervisor Hathaway said, did you read your deed? Well, of course I've read my deed. I read my deed when I bought it. And I had legal information about it. I've consulted somebody about it still. And there's 3 different things that legally, you know, all these people think they're gonna stick everybody in the neighborhood, 172 of us, for the few people along the road that are gonna benefit. Sorry, not gonna work. And thanks again.
Thank you, Paula. We have 2 online. First up is Patterson.
Thank you. Tonight, several times, the traffic light on Zeeb Road at Park was mentioned. And a year into this discussion, I'm surprised that that is still happening. Zeeb Road is a major road in Washtenaw County. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the Washtenaw County Road Commission. Therefore, any traffic light associated with any road intersecting Zeeb Road needs to be paid for by the county, not the township. And the $85 a year over the past 10 years has raised about $5 million. And whether it's a millage or another SAD going up to $185, we're talking about $11 or $12 million over the next 10 years. I think it's time for the township to hire a consultant like Joe Turner to make sure that the next policies and procedures that the township enacts are legal and proper. And because it's that much money, I think it's valuable for the township to hire someone to help with that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Next is Jonathan Greenberg.
So, excuse me. So Rob took my first two points here. So thanks, Rob. I just want to emphasize that I agree with both of those. The situation on Park Road is not because it's a dirt road. It's because it's been neglected for 10 years. And for whatever reasons, that it is now a hot topic. There's those of us who've been suffering through this for 10 years, actually 30, but the last 10 years it's gotten really bad because, as you can see, no money has been spent on it. I think the people living along Park Road, especially the folks who have property near it, are under the impression that Park Road now is what a dirt road or a stone road is. And it's so poorly maintained and so dilapidated that the experience and the problems associated with it being a dirt road, whether for a quarter mile or for a mile, a lot of those bad experiences people have would go away if Park Road had been maintained. So at the expense of everyone who's lived here, at the expense of our automobile repair costs, you kind of owe it to Park Road to take care of it. And at least, I know you think of it as throwing good money after bad, but you know, even if it's just the next year or two, that's a meaningful amount of time that we're trying to drive down the road and do a right thing. But we take the shortcut because the road is such terrible, terrible condition. So while I am respectful of the neighborhoods, I do cut through them because the roads are so terrible. If they weren't, I'd take the road. So a lot of this is on the township for ignoring Park Road for the last 30 years, really, but essentially through the last through this last SAD, we've not seen any benefit. So thank you, and really appreciate the discussion tonight, as well as the listening that was done by the committee. It's really a marked change from other committees and other experiences in the Scio Township. So you guys are representing us well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so, okay, sorry, I thought it was, did you feel safe? Vote to adjourn?
So moved.
Your motion?
So moved.
It's unanimous.
Okay, next meeting, March 1st, 2023, 6:30 PM. And, or we said?
You want me to stop recording?
Yes.
Done.